Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Safari Live pre-drive drive. It's myself and VM out this morning, and we have heard many animals calling from camp since last night, from lions to leopards early this morning. So we're going to try and follow up on this leopard that was calling. I've already seen male leopard tracks. However, they go almost past the tent and then they disappear. So I suspect that they've come through this drainage. And also I'm guessing that because I have friends who are staying at Gallagher, and they said that they heard a leopard calling north of the camp, which is that way. So I think that this leopard has walked through the drainage, past the camp, and then come shouting about down here. So that's what we're looking for. And then I also had male lions tracks, going up Shortcut Gallagher too, but I haven't followed them yet. But we will get there. Excuse me, and the sneezing starts. Joy. Nope, no tracks yet. Excuse me again. This is going to be a morning of many sneezes and eye rubs, I can imagine. Right. No leopard tracks. No leopard tracks. We're just gonna, it's very dark, so we're just gonna have to search with the spotlight, because tracking is very difficult to do at night, but we'll give it a bash. Well, not at night, it's just very early in the morning still. Right, I'm starting to hear the birds waking up now too, which is quite nice. But I'm concentrating hard because we have not seen a leopard for a very long time. So I feel as though I need to put all my effort today in finding a leopard and nothing else. No, hopefully we'll get some elephants and some kudu. I'd like to see some kudu bulls and buffalo today as well. Leopards, elephants, kudu and buffalo. Bit bumpy there. Still no more leopard tracks. Well, apparently there was a leopard calling near the dam camp now, so let's pick up the pace. We'll jump onto Mvubu Road. There's a dam. Woo! Spiders. The dam is just to the right of us. So he's sneaky, VM. He must have come from this side. Let's quickly go. So my friend said they sent me a message at 4:45, I think, saying that they could hear a leopard too. But if it is Tingana, that means absolutely nothing. He could be in Johannesburg by now. So we'll just keep checking. Woo! If you do hear that leopard calling, if you do see anything, we do appreciate #SafariLIVE on Twitter. If you are watching the dam cam too, let us know. It definitely helps us out. As when we are driving, the sound, especially the sound of a leopard rasping, unfortunately drowns out with the side of the engine. Sorry, VM, hold on here, it's a bit bumpy. Whoop, whoop. Let's go find this leopard. It's Tingana, perhaps it's going to be on Central. Right, I will see you in a moment. Taxi, apparently the viewers just said they could hear a leopard calling again just now.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. Good morning, good morning. Liquid gold has covered the eastern horizon here in beautiful Africa. This is Safari Live. standing by.
Five, four, three, two, one. You are live, you are live.
The search for leopards and lions and various other predators of the morning and night has begun, and there, in her spaceship, is Taylor McCurdy. She is the other person out on drive this morning. My name is James Henry, and shortly Tristan will be out on foot. It would be slightly suicidal for him to be out on foot right now, well, because it's still very dark. Please do talk to us during the course of the morning. Hashtag safariLIVE is how you do that. We're going to attempt to find the leopard around here. I'm also going to go further to the south to see if the royal family hasn't returned, and then perhaps to Cheetah Plains. It's all a rather blank canvas in the morning, which of course is an excellent place to be. You are most welcome. It's good to have you on board with us. Send us any questions or comments you like. Hashtag safariLIVE is how you're going to do that. Good. Shall we carry on? David is on camera, by the way. There is his thumb. Excellent. Megan is in the final control, talking to my ear. Rebecca and Louise are poking around in there somewhere as well, doing various things that are beyond the capabilities of my small brain to understand. Let us head straight across to the Spaceship Enterprise, down there with Captain Taylor McCurdy.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome, of course, hopefully another exciting sunrise safari. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is VM, and as James has just said, we are searching for leopards. However, we're searching for the one that was doing all the calling, and thankfully Taxon has also jumped out and is on the search for leopards too. So I don't know, we haven't picked up anything now. We're here at Gowrie Cutline Central, and there isn't anything. So I don't know, VM. What do you think? We haven't had any more tracks. We only had tracks a little bit earlier. Should we check up here towards Buffelshoek? Let's go up Cutline very quickly. Tax is going to go and check around Twin Dams. And now this is obviously just the race against time as to will we find this leopard before it crosses out. Because if it is Tingana, a resident male leopard, goodness gracious, that boy can walk, and he doesn't let anything slow him down. So we'll just have to try and see. And I am going to be sticking my head off of the vehicle every now and then. I do just need to check, of course, for tracks, as it is still very dark and it's not quite easy to see them. But if you have just joined us, welcome again, and this is a live safari, and we'd love it if you have any questions for us about anything really. You can hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter. That is the best way to get hold of us. And again, if you do hear anything on the dam cam, or if you see anything on the dam cam, let us know. We definitely do appreciate it. It helps us with finding animals for all of you. It's definitely, yeah, I can just smell leopard urine. But I haven't got any leopard tracks. I've got lots of hyena tracks and elephant tracks. I'm not going to show you them, just because I feel as if we waste time looking at a track, we might lose the animal. So we'll just keep going very quickly here. Just check. Let's see if there's anything out and about this morning. I think with James and I both looking for leopards, hopefully we'll get an opportunity to see one. And if you didn't see the pre-show, I was also mentioning that there was lions calling, and the lions were calling. It sounded like outside my window, and I eventually picked up male lion tracks at the junction of Vuyatela Access and what's that road called now? Gallagher. Haha, almost forgot. So yes, so it was much noise going on last night and early this morning, which is very exciting. I still don't have leopard tracks though, which is concerning, VM. I don't think we're on the right trail. Because the leopards are constantly walking on the roads. Let me quickly chat to Taxon. Copy Tax. I haven't got any tracks either coming out over the dam wall towards Mvubu. There's nothing. So I'm not sure where he is. I'm just checking Gowrie Cutline towards Buffelshoek Cutline. But Tax and I are Oh, let me just sort this out quickly. Tax, you can see it if you just go a little bit further west past the DRC sign of Vuyatela Access, you'll see where the tracks are, and then I lost them. I don't know if you went up onto Quarantine or if you went down towards past Galago Shortcut, but there were no tracks on Galago Shortcut either. So either this leopard has decided that he's not going to walk on the roads today, he's just going to mark his territories on the verge and walk just off of the road, which sometimes happens too. They don't always have to walk on the roads. But we're going to keep searching now, and hopefully between Taxon and I we'll be able to find this big male leopard. But let's go across to James, and as you know, he's on his own search, but it seems as though he's heading towards Cheetah Plains.
Well, not quite yet to Cheetah Plains. We're on our way down towards the old hyena, or to the hyena den, towards the hyena den. I'm not going to go in there just yet because it's still a bit dark, and I don't want to bathe those very young cubs in light, but I just thought maybe that leopard had come wandering past here. And of course, to find tracks on the road, he did come past here, but he was going that way. So he came up Philemon's Dip. So I asked Megan to tell Taxon and, well, basically to tell Taylor, who will tell Taxon. He came up Philemon's Dip towards Quarantine, so he definitely, or I think it's highly unlikely that he came back down this way. But otherwise things are, I think we should have a little dawn chorus listen. Lions not calling in the dawn, but maybe while the others search for the leopard, we will hear him calling again. Much louder dawn chorus than we had the other day. Monotonous larks, laughing doves, Cape turtle doves, sparrows, the odd francolin, something that I can't identify down there. Very swizzling, this warbler-like call. One or two pearl-spotted owls, giddy fowl in the distance. And you can see a sort of, well, quilt-like blanket of clouds over the top. A quilt of grey cloud, but no call of any territorial cat, lion or a leopard. Good, let us continue. Almost time to put the spotlight away. We'll just keep looking briefly. The light is growing with every minute, which is wonderful, as a new day has begun. Oblivious to the happenings of the day before, or what the days to come will bring. Isn't it amazing? I do find it, I don't know, comforting and disturbing at the same time, that despite the events of our lives that make us feel alternately bereft and joyful, the planet just keeps on spinning, and the sun just keeps on coming up and going down, and nothing changes from that point of view. No animals at this stage. Here, there's that swizzling call. There. Oh. I feel like I know what it is. I mean, it sounds like a starling, but I don't think it is a starling. I think it's something mimicking a starling. It might just be a young starling. I'm going to go with young Cape glossy starling. Yeah. Good. Well, I suspect you're going to have some pretty good news right now, so let's head across to Taylor McCurdy, who, well, she's had a rather genius morning so far.
Right, I'm just trying to turn around for all of you so you can have a look as to what we have found, who popped out of the grass. So it seems as though, for a change, we were in front of a male leopard. I'm just going to go back onto the road. Sorry, VM, I'm doing lots of maneuvers now, but we'll get him. There he is. We'll have a quick look at him. How's this gorgeous man? I'm going to keep moving, so as he comes closer, I'm going to start the engine and start reversing, as I would like to, of course, stay in front of him. But this is Tingana, and I'm just going to move back again. Sorry, boy. I just need to give him a bit of room, so sorry, VM, it's going to be a bit of a bumpy thing. But we'll just try keep moving it just in front of him like this. What I'll do is I'll go right back so we can watch him come towards us. But he is definitely on a territorial patrol at the moment, as you can see. And knowing Tingana, I did see his beautiful smiley face on his left shoulder. Right, we'll sit here and watch him come towards us, and then we'll have to do the same thing over again. But he is definitely on the move today. Hello, beautiful. VM, are you happy? This is VM's favorite leopard on the whole property. He loves him so much. So VM is now smiling from ear to ear that this is how he could start his day. And what we'll do is, I don't want to make him nervous again, so I'm just going to jump back up and go backwards. Right. Hey, boy. So he's going to mark again, and that's all he's going to do the whole morning. I'm really hoping he'll rasp for us, because there's nothing quite like that sound. There he is. Marking his territory, one end. No, Tingana. Come back this way, please. Ooh, I can see antelope eyes just behind him. That's quite exciting. He hasn't seen the antelope just yet, though. Tingana, look to your right, look to your right. That is a very lucky, I think it's an Inyala. But Tingana's also been making much noise this morning, so everything does know that he's around. Tax, please join, please take over the sighting. I'm going to go radio down. I'm just going to turn my radio off and hand the sighting over to Taxon. Let's see what this beautiful boy is going to get up to. Now, I really do hope that he does decide to climb this massive jackalberry tree. And perhaps he goes to have a rest. You can see it there. It's the biggest tree. But this is really, really cool. But we'll have to see. He's probably been walking all night. Remember yesterday we had his tracks all over the property. So I think he's done a loop. He's probably gone into Torchwood and then maybe done a quick loop into Buffelshoek. And then back down towards us. And who knows where he's going to go next. I'm just going to let the other car spotlight him. I don't want to put too many spotlights on this cat. Now, Daniel, good morning. You're wondering if that smell is similar to a house cat's urine. It isn't. It smells completely different. Hello, boy. He's just walking right next to the car. The smell is actually quite different. You see how close he's getting. Right, now we need to play a game of cat and mouse. Good morning. Leopard whisperer, right? No, I'm joking. Those are my friends in the other car, so of course I took a bit of banter. They've been giving me gears the entire time about how I need to find them a leopard, and I haven't, but we finally found them all a leopard. So sorry, Daniel. So cats, normal domesticated cat's urine doesn't smell pleasant at all, whereas leopard's urine, it's the most incredible scent, and it sounds bizarre, and you really will never understand the smell unless you get to smell it for yourself. But the closest thing that I can think of, it's sort of like buttery popcorn, if you will. Oh, look at that. We'll just stop here and watch him while he's being illuminated by the other car's light. And that's another very important thing when you are on safari. And we try our best to not... Oh, that's beautiful. Hey? That almost looks like it's the sun glowing on his beautiful face. But we try not to put too many lights on the cat. So with spotlights and things, we'll just have one vehicle using a spotlight. But this is great for us because we get this beautiful backlighting, and if you're all starting to get to know me pretty well now, and I love a good backlighting session. But the clouds are breaking away. which is good, so we won't need to spotlight very soon. We'll just be able to view him in the lovely morning golden light. But let's catch up with him again. Hello Tracy, good morning. Thank you for your question. So Tracy, you've asked on this fine day filled with spotted cats, why does he have loose skin under his neck and also on his belly? Well Tracy, it's for two different reasons. The big flap underneath his neck, that excess skin is, I'm going to go past him again so we can view him a little bit better. I'm actually going to go and try and go past this game viewer so we get to see him for a little bit longer. So basically that's a dewlap, and you see, you actually said there's a number of different animals, but leopards, it helps having that extra skin to help protect their necks. They've got very, very thick, powerful necks. And then this excess skin on their bodies underneath their tummy, well, that's just because he's maybe a little bit hungry. He doesn't look as big as what he normally does. You can see, look, he's going to walk right past that other car too, just to show you how close he gets. And once he's eaten an entire impala, there will be no excess loose skin. His entire tummy will swell up, and that's the design of course, let me get my spotlight again, of a leopard and a lion and any predator, is that they're able to gorge themselves. We have a quick groom. He's a beautiful cat. The last time we saw him, he was massive. He almost looked like he was double the size, but he would also just eaten a meal. So as he's patrolling, it does not really doing it too much good that he is calling, because he's going to lose out on a potential meal, because everything is going to run away from him if they hear him shouting out and all the time. Though he does to make these sacrifices every now and then, of course. We're just going to wait for him to go past. I don't want to ruin the other guy's shots. There we go. My goodness, it's a very exciting morning. We've gone from the spotted cat. We're going to send you across now to James, who's got some spotted hyenas.
We are indeed here at the den site with Ribbon and her two little ones just as the light came up. We pulled in here, and for a little while it was actually too dark to film properly, but a few minutes later, and the light has come up sufficiently, and there is Ribbon, and her little ones are actually starting to display that real fairly typical hyena trait of moving closer to the vehicle. And eventually I think they're going to come down, as many of their ilk have done. They'll pop down and start biting things off the vehicle's wheels. No, don't leave. So of course if she goes, that will be it for us. I just wonder if something hasn't spooked her slightly. See the little one there? Disappeared inside. So this is, I think, the best time to come and visit them, early morning, just as it gets light. Because I suspect she doesn't rest here for the day. I think she rests away from the den. I think let's go round the other side and just quickly see if maybe she's going to rest there, because if she doesn't, if she moves away, there's no point in us being here. We can keep looking for something else. Still, it was nice to see them. Yeah, I think she's gone away. She looked down here. We'll just do a loop around. She often lies down in this little portion here. But she's not there now. Yeah, I think she's gone off into the bush. And of course, as we discovered yesterday when we saw Shadow, well, it's not difficult for an animal to disappear into grass this length. I'm afraid I think that's it for us. Yeah. Ribbon has disappeared into the bushes. Why, I couldn't begin to tell you. Oh, there she is. Hang on. No, here she is. She's here, right here with the little babies. You know what? There's a tunnel, obviously straight through. I'm going to stop here. There's obviously a tunnel that goes straight through that termite mound. And they went in and popped out the other side. It's fantastic. I know that beastly strychnos bush is in the way, but I'm going to give them a little bit of time to settle. Then I will try and sneak a little bit forward. Oh, look at them. This is just fantastic. Sorry. I'm just not sure why it is that they can't remain like this when they're adults. They don't show anything like the same excitement around cars. You can't follow them off-road when they're adults. And yet these little ones become so inquisitive. Now what we must try and do while we've got them so close to us is figure out, are there any distinctive markings that will help us to discern who they are as they grow up. Now remember, their fur of course is going to turn completely, so looking at markings on the fur is difficult except where there are spots formed, because the spots will not change. So if there's a distinctive spotting pattern somewhere on the face or on the chest there, like she's got, or he or she has got a very distinctive spot. What now? He or she's got a very distinctive spot just under the leg, at least between the ear and the eye. The mother's gone off there. Baby's still just outside. Look at that. Sorry, Gloria Cat Lover, you've asked a question about scars. I'm just going to ask for it again. Look how naughty they are. You want to know if they have lots of scars from fighting each other? Yes, they do. From very early on, Gloria, they get scars all over their faces because they start fighting from very early on. And I think you'll find the males, and you'll find the males. The other one is just not visible because it's right here. The males and the lower ranking females, like Ribbon here, will be that much more easily scarred because they have to fight for more. I think they're going through to the other side. What is going on here? There's something making her a little bit uneasy. So she's wandering off down there now. She does seem to be leaving. They're back out again, Dave. And they don't want Mum to leave, but Mum is leaving, and so what we're going to do is sit very, very quietly and see how long they will tolerate being here without Mum, because I think they're going to go back inside. One fright now, one little thing to startle them will send them scuttling back in and they won't come out. Did you see that little bit of behavior there? What they're doing there? They're already starting to mark trees and bushes with the anal gland. Go on around the other side. I think Mum's disappeared down there. Let's wait here for 1 second, and then we'll go round and see if they're still outside. There's a gorgeous sky starting to form. So I think this hole goes right through the middle of the termite mound. It's ideal because nothing other than something as small as a hyena will be able to get in there. So let's just roll forward and see if we can't spot a little cub the other side, but maybe we are finished now with this sighting. don't want to start the engine. No, I think they've gone back in. Well, that was a nice start to the morning. Let's quickly go down the road here and see if we can't have a decent look at the sunrise, which is eventually happening. It's amazing how quickly it changes from coming up sort of before we start drive to quite a long time after we start. Begin. Yeah, spiders. There's quite a lot of mist as well. I'm just going to try and gain some height, so we're going to go a little bit quickly. Oh, that's not bad. How's that, Dave? Not too shabby. It's very gorgeous. And just to keep you posted on Tingana, I think what he's done is given Taylor the slip. But I'm not going to tell you about that. I'm going to let her do that for you right now.
Hello again. Sadly, he has given both myself and Taxon the slip. We've jumped onto the fire break that sort of runs parallel with Buffels of cut line, and we're just checking. And it's a tough one because he went down into that massive drainage system, and you all remember that drainage system because it's the same spot that the Nkuhumas used to live most of last year through winter. But the problem is that it was a difficult area to drive around in winter. Now it's summer and the grass is standing at almost 2 meters tall. It's almost impossible to try and get in there. So Taxon tried, he failed miserably, he had to come back out. So now all we can do is really just hope and see if, well, we catch him as he moves around. If he goes to sleep in there, that's going to be interesting to try and get in. Because Taxon went in almost exactly where he went and lost him. And he says you can't go further north up that drainage anymore. It's just so overgrown, which is a pity. But I don't know where he's going to go. He could just sit down and go to sleep. He could just have a siesta now. Let's just check here. You never really know out here in the bush. But we'll just keep trying. Tax has gone around to check Hyena Road. I said that I would slowly move around through here and hope that he pops out. Oh, wow. But while Tingana gives us a slip, I'm going to show you the beautiful sunrise from my view, which is actually unbelievable. Let's see if we can get a spot. It's a tough spot. There we go. That'll be alright though. Isn't that beautiful? The sky is on fire this morning. Little bit of mist moving through, and I'm hoping as we sit here we're going to hear Tingana calling. Well, no, it seems like he's settled down on the calling now. We'll just have to keep searching. I'm going to jump off of this fire break and then I'll go back and do another loop on quarantine, and not quarantine, on Buffels of Cutline, and then I'm also going to go straight down Gari Cutline again to see if he just wasn't trying to give us the slip. Hopefully not. Otherwise, we're going to have to go in on foot a little bit later, which is also not going to be too exciting, because again, it's so thick you would not even see a buffalo. This is where Tex is going to pop out. Let's go back. Let's go this way. VM, what's his route from here? Going to Torchwood? Ah, okay. So I'm just having a quick chat with VM. VM knows this leopard very, very well, and he says normally when he does this route, he's going back towards Torchwood. Well, he did this, and I'm trying to remember who he did the same slip to. He had him, and they lost him in the drainage. Looks like there was also a male lion walking around here, but there's quite a few elephant tracks about, so let's just keep going. Maybe we get lucky. We'll just check a little bit further along. Tracks have also got male lion tracks going east along the also cut line from the junction of Hyena Road, but also cut line. Just check here. So Tax is still going along Hyena Road. He says he hasn't seen anything just yet, so that's good. So while he's doing that, let's just see if we can follow up on these tracks. Oh my goodness, the sunrise is so beautiful today. We just have to keep scanning and looking for animals as we drive. Wow, wow, wow. Wait till you see this. You can already see, look at the light on the hood of the car. Yeah, this is what I'm looking at. I'm trying to work out where these lion tracks are going. You can see them in front of the car when we finish looking at the sunrise. We'll show you. It's just absolutely spectacular. We almost need some shears, so we can trim the tops of these trees. They've got far too tall. It's obstructing our view now. But if you go just in front of the road, again, we're not going to jump out. There are big male lion tracks. You can see them there. Purely because if we get out and we start looking, we're gonna keep falling behind. This lion, I think, this was calling at about 11 o'clock last night. So the chances of the lion still being around are actually quite slim. So I'm not going to go too far. Because they can, just like Tingana, these animals can really, really travel distance. Just check here. It's still going along the road. I wonder which Birmingham boy was walking here last night. And I reckon if you sat with them for long enough and they all did big calls, you'd eventually be able to identify them by their calls. Because each lion's roar is slightly different. Some more deeper, some a little bit more high-pitched. But you never really know because they don't ever call that often. It's a bit sad. Only really to declare territories. Sometimes after mating they'll do a big roar. Right, we're going to keep searching here. We're going to see if we can see exactly where these lion tracks go, and then we'll head back down towards the last position of Tingana. But Tristan is out and about, and he's ready to say good morning on Bushwalk. Back again. Tristan's not ready to say good morning to you just yet. Right, let's continue the search. I actually think we're going to go and check Buffelshoek Dam very quickly, because I can't see these lion tracks anymore. Whether they've gone, I didn't see whether they went east or south. Just double check a little bit further. Goodness, the newspaper is hard to read this morning. Very, very difficult. Hi, Megan. So Megan is talking to me, but I think she's supposed to be talking to somebody else. Hi, Megan. Right, so we're going to keep searching for animals around here. And we're going to go back across to James. I'm not sure if he's still with those spotted hyenas, but let's go and have a look.
We're going to try and have a look, everybody, but before we do that, we're going to just get the sun there for you, because it's so pretty. And the other creatures that are finding it very pretty at the moment are the biting flies, which have come out in a great and horrible abundance this morning. Let's keep going. Ribbon's come, we're not far from the den. We're at Treehouse Dam, and the den is just up there, and she's come down towards the water. She decided she might like to have a drink, but then she was bombed by a blacksmith lapwing. Oh, and there's a pin-tailed wider. Well done, David. You've got it. Look like a little bit like a biting fly going off to the north. So we're going to continue along here. She's on the road down here. Not sure why she's going foraging at this time of the day. It seems like an odd time for a hyena to go foraging. Maybe she knows something that we don't. She almost certainly knows something that we don't. Unfortunately, if she goes off the road and we try and follow her, she'll just disappear. They don't like to be followed off-road. She was on the road. The tracks are still there. No, I think she's moved off. Maybe gone down that path there. Anyway, it is the most beautiful morning. Can't believe it. I'm going to drive along here and see if she doesn't pop out again. Sorry, Mandy, I'm going to have to turn the final control up a bit there. Mandy, you've got a question. I missed it. Let's have it again, please, Megan, if you don't mind. Oh, you want to know what the biggest threat to a hyena pup is at this age? Firstly, remember, a hyena baby is known as a cub, not a pup. I know it seems really counterintuitive, but it's because they're supposed to be more closely related to cats than they are to dogs. And the biggest threat to a hyena cub at this age, other than its sibling, remember they often kill each other, especially if they're two females, not always, but quite often, would probably be lions. Lions will come past there, they will try and grab whatever other predators they can, and so lions could easily be a nasty threat to those hyenas. Might come from another, would be a threat, I suppose, to the lions, but I think she's pretty safely inside clan territory, so she'll be alright. And I think if there's one species out here that doesn't suffer from infanticide like the carnivore species do, it's probably the hyenas. So I think that's probably where it's the greatest threat to a male leopard. Sorry, let me just stop here a second. I think it's the greatest threat to male leopards. It's not the case with hyenas, so it's probably lions would be. Let's say
Not much just yet, James. We're still working on trying to find another cat this morning, as VM and I were just discussing. We're wondering, it's possible Tingana likes to zigzag about. He's very good at giving the slip. So we're thinking maybe he's even gone back sort of south from the drainage line or Gowrie Cut line back down towards Central again. So we've decided we've come all the way on Cheetah Cut line now, and we had those male lion tracks actually coming back down here again. So it's definitely one of the Birminghams doing a territorial patrol, and we're going to go onto Central from Cheetah Cut line and then work our way back and just do loops like that a couple of times before we decide to move on. It's still nice and fresh. It's definitely still really good weather to be moving about as a leopard, because you won't be getting too warm. But you never know. It can be quite sort of lazy at times, and I suppose you actually can't say lazy if you've walked 10 miles and you've been marking your territory and calling about. You must be a little bit tired. Ooh. Also, lots of elephant activity again coming onto our property from Torchwood, which is nice, so we may see something here. Now, Kate, you're wondering how much does a fully grown male leopard weigh? Kate, it can vary quite a bit, but some of the biggest leopards that we have out here, so Mbavala, who lives in the Sabi River, and which is quite far south of here, and then the Anderson male, who lives around Elephant Plains, Arethusa, those sort of areas. They are the two biggest, and I reckon that those boys could weigh anything between 90 and about 105 kilograms or so. So just over 200 pounds, maybe 220 pounds, which is quite large. I mean, they're massive. They take on animals almost, like for instance, if they catch a big warthog, they're taking on something that's almost their same weight. I just want to quickly check here, check Gowrie Pan. and then we're going to go down, we're going to go to Drakensberg, and then we'll jump onto Central like that. Just check around, because these are also potential spots that Karula could be. She likes it up here. Right, let's carry on. So apparently Tristan's having a bit of trouble with the bush back this morning. Seems as though we can't hear Tristan, which is a major problem. So he's had to go back to camp, but hopefully they'll get that sorted and he'll be out and about shortly. But we'll just keep on searching. But now, Jack, you're wondering which cats have got the most advanced form of communication. I think both lion and leopard have got a very much sophisticated communication, and with those particular cats, we actually hear them when they're communicating. So this is when you start moving down to the smaller cats like caracal and serval and African wildcat. They don't make as big of a noise as the larger cats do. So to say that you could probably hear a lion's roar further away, even with us as the human ear, than you would hear a leopard rasping. Unless it's in a valley or something, then of course that sound travels for ages and ages. So yeah, I would say maybe lions. It's a tough one though. It's a close call between leopard and lion, but they don't just communicate via those ways. It's body language. I'm pretty sure they've got some form of communication that's silent. It's like, how does a mother lion tell her cubs to stay? We don't hear that. We hear none of that communication. So there's definitely a lot more than what we actually know. But sometimes it's really difficult to try and figure those types of things out. But who knows, with the technology that's coming about today, it opens up a whole lot of opportunities for us to sort of investigate animal behavior even further, which is actually very exciting. So in 5 years' time, the things that we're saying about these cats could completely change, because they could all, remember, most of them are just theories and from observations of people, and books that are written are even location specific. And as you move along into different areas, the behaviors of animals can easily change. And we see that out here. I definitely saw the behavior of the animals down on the southeast coast versus Zambia versus the Sabi hand to be slightly different. But that's what's so nice, is the more areas you work in, the sort of more diverse your knowledge does become. And you can pick up sort of little tips and things. And you read the books. And I often scratch things out that I don't agree with because I've seen them doing completely different things. But again, that just goes back to location specific, and and that's why you got to be careful when you read books. So when you want to get any books, say for instance about this particular area, look specifically for books that say the Lowveld or the Greater Kruger National Park, the Sabi Sand, things like that, to Timavati, because they're all up in this area. Especially if you're coming to become a guide up here, if you're new. You wouldn't want to be reading books about lions in Botswana, because their behavior is going to be slightly different. You've got Botswana, there's a lot of water systems. Those lions have had to adapt to water life. Their hunting strategies are completely different to the hunting strategies down here, which is really interesting. And that's what's so much fun about doing what we do, is that you just can't get bored. You're constantly learning, you're watching, observing, taking notes, and it's really quite fun. Right, we're on Central now. I think we're on Central now. And let's go and have a quick look around here. Also, it's so amazing how these elephants, they just come onto this property and then they completely disappear. The fresh tracks, fresh dung. You can still see that the urine is still wet on the ground. But with this bush, and that's one other thing why I can't wait for winter, is just so, not that the bush completely disappears, but just so that it drops a little bit. Because it's almost impossible to see anything. Sorry, Megan, can I have that question again? I could just hear James on the radio behind you. I didn't quite hear the question. There we go. That was a little bit better. Ellen, you're wondering if predators will change their hunting behaviors for the different seasons. 100%, definitely. We see it really well here. Let's have a look at some Inyala, some of the prey species of the animals that we're talking about. Hi guys, you don't look too frightened. I'm going to go forward a little bit more, VM, and then I'm going to get a view of them coming out of the bushes. I'll answer your question now, Ellen. There we go. And so, Ellen, they do indeed do that. So what happens, and particularly at this time of the year when the grass is long, it's definitely... It's actually a tough one. There's a lot of grass for the animals to hide in. So for leopards, I think leopards have a better time because they can just sit flat in the grass very patiently and wait and wait and wait till, say, some inyala like this come through, and then they will, of course, get as close as they can and pounce on them. Lions can do the same thing. They can also hide in this long grass. The only thing with lions, though, I feel as though their coat stands out quite a bit against the green grass because they're quite light in color. That tawny color looks better amongst the brown vegetation and the sand in winter. So it just depends. So here I think they'll be doing a lot more ambush because there's plenty of vegetation to hide behind. And then as you move to the winter months, you might find that they have to do a bit more chasing. It's open, there's a lot less things to hide behind. And I mean, you can just see it straight away in the summer months, how the inyala just completely disappear. So yes, Ellen, you're quite correct. It does definitely change, and it varies from species to species. Now, I can't. Megan, please can I have it again? Sorry, I don't know why I can't hear the questions coming through very clearly. David, sorry, it's struggling, but I think you're asking something along the lines of how important is a role of the scent marking the animals. I don't actually. Sorry, Megan. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. So it is around that. Sorry, I'm not sure of the wording 100%. I could just hear Megan's every second word coming through. But sorry, David. So basically, you want to know how important is the scent to communication when animals are marking territories. It's actually very important. Those scents don't necessarily last for a very long time, and that's why we see leopards and lions and the various animals going about, even wildebeest, marking on a regular basis. Something like rain washes it away, but I think when they are walking around there, their sense of smell is the most important, because yes, they may hear other animals are declaring their territories, but just hearing them doesn't show you their boundary as to what areas they like. So Tingana, and it's like what let's talk about that lion. It's like with that lion, we saw him walk all along the boundaries as if he knows. It's amazing and how these animals do this. And we know that they love to go into Buffelshoek, but they always walk Buffelshoek Cutline, and they always go down Cheetah Cutline. It's a ritual whenever they're moving from the west to the east and then going back south again. And along that way, even in his feet, he's leaving scents behind. He's marking with his, of course, the glands in his cheek, and then they're spraying urine, and that goes for the leopards and lions. And if another leopard or a lion were to come past, and Tingana or that male lion has completely moved out of the area 2 days ago, he's still going to be able to see the exact path, or smell the exact pathway that particular predator has walked. So it's very, very, very important. But it's a combination of things. It's sight, sound, and then of course smell. Goodness, the amount. I'm going to have to gaffer tape a stick to the car again with all the spider webs that we're collecting. BM, you've got an array on your camera now, just over here. It's quite nice. If we're not careful, we're going to lose Vim. He's going to get wrapped up by a spider. But let's see. Tingana, I haven't seen any tracks along Central now. And here's Taxon too. I don't think we're going to have any luck. I think this leopard has definitely given us a slip. I'm just going to pull off the road very quickly. Let's do this. We'll let Tax pass us, and I'll have a chat with him on the radio at some point. Right. I think we're going to give up our search now. I think we're done looking for Tingana. He's gone. He's either sleeping somewhere, or he has properly given us the slip, and he might be in Torchwood already. Who knows? It's not the first time that he's done something like this to us. So we're just going to have to wait until winter again, when it will be a little bit easier to follow the animals as they go off road. That's all right. We've got a good view of him, I think. It was quite nice, and you all got to hear him on the dam cam as well. It was nice to have that combination of feeds. All right, let's go down here. elephant search, VM? What do you think? VM says there's always more leopards. There are indeed always more leopards, but we haven't picked up on any more tracks, which is a toughie. I'm not sure where James is at the moment. I don't know if he's gone down to check Twin Dams to see if the royal family are perhaps by some miracle pop back in. We'll just do another little lap here very quickly, and then I think we'll go towards Buffelshoek Dam. Right. Let's keep going. Okay, we're back on cut line again. Right. So just checking that he didn't do it like a double take and come back again. Now, Aaron, you're wondering if hunting together is better than hunting alone? Most certainly. And we see this with hyenas and wild dogs. They're the perfect pack hunters, or animals that hunt in groups. They are unbelievable. They chase prey. Though with wild dogs, it's interesting to watch, especially now with the drone that we're able to see from above and in the air and looking down. It's almost like they're quite erratic. They run, one will veer off, one will go that way, and they're sort of, as individuals, almost searching for a scent or a sound or even spotting an animal, and then will chase it and go for it. And if the rest of the pack is there, they will all run after it. Otherwise, it's quite common to have one wild dog kill something and then go back, call the rest of the pack, and then lead them back to where the kill is. Just want to check along here on these banks, because he could just be sitting down somewhere. And lions, again, as well, they're quite successful sometimes, especially in the winter months when the animals are weakened. There's definitely, you see the success rate of lions increase. In summer, not so much. So it just depends, I suppose, on the size of the animal and the prey that they're going after, because it's almost impossible for something like one lioness to take down a massive buffalo bull, especially in the conditions that they're in now. She could be successful, but her chances are much greater at actually being killed in that process, especially because she only weighs a quarter of what that buffalo will weigh, maybe even a little bit less than a quarter if it's a big buffalo bull. So it's tough, and that's where the prides come in, when the animals are fit and healthy. Because they can jump on, grab all angles, start weakening around the hock, trying to snap a tendon. One will grab the throat, one might try and hang on and cover the snout, or jumping on the backs and gnawing away on the spine, trying to increase the bleeding, so it weakens the animal faster. There's lots of different techniques, but I definitely think in the case of wild dogs and hyenas, hunting in a group is much more successful. Leopards, of course, are specialists at hunting smaller game, and lions use the number of strength to bring down large buffalo. Right, I think we're out of luck. Very, very sad, but at least we've managed, of course, to get a view of him. It seems as though the gremlins are fighting, but we are fighting back. And Tristan has managed to flick a couple of them off, and he's got his audio fixed, so let's go across to him.
Well, I hope so, because we introduced ourselves earlier and it didn't come through, so we shall do it all again. It is a beautiful morning, and like I say, my name is Tristan, and on camera today we've got Expert Eggsy. Now, we're out on a morning that is absolutely beautiful. The sunrise was absolutely spectacular. It came up and illuminated all the clouds, so it was really quite special to be here. And very few bushwalks start these days without the obligatory McCurdy-hurdy, which is the herd of zebras that are behind me. So for those of you who are not familiar with the McCurdy-hurdy, it is a group of zebras that has been hanging around quite a lot on quarantine, and Taylor has taken it upon herself to try and habituate these zebras. So every day she's out here, she tries to spend time with them, and we've all followed suit now and tried to continue this pattern, and they've become very, very relaxed with us. It's quite amazing to see how accepting they have been. We've moved into very, very close proximity to them often, and they seem not to really care, which is very, very strange for a zebra herd. Zebras are often very flighty. They normally have very, very good eyesight, and they normally see you and start to push away. Now, today it's going to be a little bit difficult to get anywhere near them because they're surrounded by a beautiful big herd of impala, and those impalas are not quite as relaxed as the zebras, and so every time I try and move close, the impalas start to scatter, and then the zebras trundle off with the impalas in case there is a threat. So we are not going to approach them too close. closely. Today we will give them a break from our voices and our dull set tones. Now, I think it's going to be a beautiful morning for a walk. There's a nice little bit of cloud cover, and that's going to make the temperature absolutely perfect for walking. It's been a great start to the day by the sounds of it, with Tingana and the hyena den. So I think Herbie and I were chatting. We're going to try and head more to the west and see if we can find any signs of lions this morning. So we're going to try and see if we can pick up any tracks for them. But while we're doing that, we're going to focus on a lot of the smaller things. Ultimately, that's what the bushwalk is about, is to see all these little things that we can't see when we're driving around. So while we'll try and help out where we can with lion tracks, I think we're just going to try and take it a little bit easy this morning and see what little things are out here. It's nice weather for small insects. And talking about insects, we have a millipede here. So you can see this is Mildred's auntie, and she's out and about. Now, Mildred is another one of Taylor's favorite names for the millipedes. She says that they're all called Mildred, so wherever we go, there is Mildreds everywhere. And these guys are starting to get fewer and far between. Unfortunately, it's now getting more towards the winter months, and our temperatures are coming down, and so these poor millipedes slow right up. The insects don't do that well in cold weather. So also these guys are detritivores, which means that they eat rotting matter, and they need a bit of moisture for that rotting process to happen. In the winter months, the leaves just dry out on the surface, and it becomes very difficult for these guys to actually be able to turn that over and to be able to feed. So you find that they burrow down into the ground, and that's where they spend time in the winter months. But nice little start. Shame, I saw a millipede the other day that unfortunately was walking around in half, and it was, by the evidence that we could find later on, looked like a zebra unfortunately had stood on it. So it's one of those hazards of being a small creature that moves slowly, is that the bigger animals like the zebras, when they stand on you, unfortunately it's not a very pleasant experience. I would imagine it would be much like if an elephant stood on us. It's not going to be very fun to be stood on by one of them. I'm just looking around. It's a little bit cool still for a lot of the insects, so we won't see too many butterflies yet. They need a bit of sunshine to start coming out and start flying around. But what we will probably find as I'm walking through this grass now is lots of little locusts. They should be around. There should be a few millipedes like we just saw, and then there'll be the odd spiders that are hidden amongst the Waltheria plants that are littered across the quarantine open clearings. So I'm hoping that we'll find some of them. It's a good time to look for spiders, particularly if they for food, because during the night there's been a lot of insect activity, and they would have caught in their webs food items, and they could then potentially be feeding on them. So good time to look for spiders. What else should we be looking for? Birds is always a good one, although birding on foot is a little bit more difficult. You don't get quite as close to them. They tend to fly away before we even get anywhere near. So that's a little bit more of a challenge, but we shall definitely try. I think Taylor's forgotten about the fact that we had a birding challenge. I don't know if it was just a weekly one or a daily one, but she seems to have forgotten. So maybe we should reignite that and see if we can carry that on and find some birds this morning. And as ever, Herbie the Intrepid, who's busy keeping us safe and is our security detail, is off in the distance scouting around for us. You can see he's walking along there, so he checks around and makes sure that we stay nice and safe, especially at the moment with all the elephant bulls that we've got around. It's been quite something walking. There's elephants everywhere. The other night when we were doing our bushwalk on the way back in the dark, we bumped into this big elephant bull very close to where Herbie is now. We had to do this big loop around, and luckily Herbie spotted it and kept us nice and safe, so that was good. It's quite amazing though to actually see how rejuvenated everything is. Anisha, that's a good question. So you're wondering, if you get surrounded by elephants, what should you do? Well, the trick is try not to be surrounded by elephants. The nice thing about elephants is that generally when they're moving around, they are breaking branches and making a little bit of noise. So you need to be able to be listening when you're walking and making sure that you're aware of your environment. The worst thing that can happen is to be encased in a herd of elephants. So if you get into the middle of them and they're all around you, it's going to be very, very tough to get yourself out of that situation. But if it did happen, what you would probably try to do is you'd probably try to be as still as possible and make your profile as low as possible and hope that none of the elephants pick you up. The problem with elephants is that they have incredible senses, so they're able to smell very, very well, and they're able to hear very well. So you're going to have to hope that the wind is not blowing in any way towards any of those elephants, because they will pick you up. And in a herd, the females can be very, very aggressive because they are very defensive of their little ones. So you don't want a situation where you're in the middle of a herd. The best thing is to be far more aware, and so that if you see herds or if you see signs of elephants, to position yourself in such a way that you will have get down, or a lot of treed areas in front of you, big logs that you can get behind, and try and position yourselves in those places, and that if the herd does come past, that you've got some sort of structure to hide behind. But ideally you don't want to be getting caught in the middle of a herd. Now, yesterday I was chatting about grasses and the fact that it looks really lush. Example, if you look around me, you can see that there is actually a lot of dirt that is all around here. So the spacing between the grass at the moment is quite large. So even though it looks really green and long grass, I think we're going to have still a very difficult winter when it comes to food, because this grass, once the seed dies off and that stem dies off, we're going to find that it's going to be very short and very sparse, and I reckon the animals are still going to have a tough time. Now, let's not dwell on negative things and not focus on the negatives. Let's rather look at all the beauty that we have around at the moment. And talking of beauty, let's go across to our male model James Henry and see what he's busy with this morning.
No, male model is not something I've ever been accused of before. Nor is it something I believe that I was ever designed to do. I think you have to be slightly taller than I am. Of course, Brent Leo Smith was a male model at one stage. I cannot claim such. Have you been a male model before, David? Of course you should have been, shouldn't you? Yes. With locks like that? Definitely. Right, we're on Chitwa at the moment, and just enjoying what is a very beautiful clearing. There's some elephants shouting to the south of us. We'll see if we can find them presently. And there is a wildebeest. And I mean, if we talk about male models, I seriously suspect that the male wildebeest is not going to win any prizes as a male model. The elephants are going utterly ballistic just down the way. Let's go across and see if we can't have a look at them. Now, we're on Chitwa, and we are in Wendy, so I'm hoping our signal is going to hold. And of course, I was just saying the other day that I didn't think wildebeest were ugly in the slightest, but most people would not put them on the ramps of Milan, the catwalks of Paris. Let's just go down here. I hope we don't run out of property. Sort of down here-ish. So let's go, let's go down here. Some angry squirrels. Now, often when elephants are shouting like that, they're not fighting with each other. They've just discovered a predator. And maybe that is what has happened. David is now standing, looking from the crow's nest. David, do you see anything from the crow's nest there? Nothing yet. Okay, well, let's just keep going. I can't see anything either. There are some clearings down below to the front, but that's unfortunately no longer on Chitwa, which is where we are now. Let's just stop and have a listen here. Very angry elephants, hopefully heading this way. Going to load the map just on the off chance. No, I can still hear them. I think they're quite a long way from where we are. Now Lara, you're wondering if all wildebeests have got stripes. They do. They've all got those. Oh, look, Dave. The squirrel watching us here. Lara, they do have stripes. And there are different subspecies. You say, are there different subspecies? There are different subspecies of zebra, at least of wildebeest. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there are 4 subspecies of the blue wildebeest. I'm going to check this up for you, naturally. Wildebeest. We have got one in South Africa. There's one in East Africa. That's the other one. That's the brindled gnu. And there are 5 subspecies from the continent, of which only one, of course, is found here. So we've got the other one in East Africa. And then I wonder if we can't perhaps find where the others are. Let me have a quick look. There's one, I think, in Botswana. No, not in Botswana. I'll tell you exactly where. Here we go. Right. We have the brindled gnu up in East Africa. The others I am going to have to try and download a map for, which I can't right now. We'll just try and see if it doesn't download. Yeah, those are the 2 main ones. The one down here and the one up in East Africa. And I know that I've read where the others are. I will try and figure out where they are. But they've all got those sort of stripy markings. No doubt there are endless numbers of theories as to why they should have them. Alright, we're going to see if we can't find these elephants. Barbara has an update for you on what she's going to be doing.
Sadly, we've given up on the search of Tingana now. We've let him settle wherever he may have settled. Just between Tax and now, we suspect, and Wiem, we suspect that this leopard is just fast asleep on the bank on that drainage system. But the only problem is that it is so thick, you really can't get in there at the moment. So we'll leave him. What have we seen? Monkeys? Where are the monkeys? Wiem, must I go back? Viem's got eagle eyes. There's a little monkey. Well spotted, Wiem. That is a vervet monkey hiding behind the grass. My goodness, I still can't actually even see where Viem's looking. But Wiem is also positioned much higher than what I am and can see a whole lot more. So this is where the teamwork comes into play. I'm actually surprised that they're not sitting on the tops of the trees this morning, because there's definitely a nip in the air. And typically, first thing in the morning, you'll see the birds, you'll see the monkeys, the squirrels, all sitting on the eastern-facing parts of the trees, waiting for the morning light to warm their bellies up. Wiem, you're a champion. I literally cannot even see where you are looking. Oh, no, there they are. I can see them now. Ah, jumping monkeys. What are you eating? And something that's exciting that we're going to be seeing in the next few months is the berries popping through on all the guarri trees. And that's what the vervets are going to start to eat. But I'm sure that they've found lots of nice grass shoots. Ah, there they go. Up. They're just in the bush willow. There we go. There's a little one. They're eating all the nice grasses. They're eating all the, of course, new leaves. Unfortunately, there's not really much in the form of fruit at the moment. However, I'm sure if they can dig in, they'll try and get the nuts out of a marula. But I don't think that they've got as specialized teeth as something like a squirrel or a bushveld gerbil has. I think they're the specialists at pulling those nuts out of the marula seeds. And there's lots of them. There's even the one that's come out just on the bottom right. He's sitting on the guarri tree. And I just want to see if he's a male or a female. Now, it's always difficult to tell the difference between boys and girls. Of course, with the vervets, though, it does make it easy when you see their bright blue testicles. That just obviously means it's a boy. That one did not have bright blue testicles, so I suspect that it is a girl. And of course, that's just one of those. There you go again. Hello. Lovely. That's also a female. And there's her little darling. Now, Lisa, you're wondering if there are any other species of monkeys other than the vervets and the baboons. We've got one more, and that is called the simango. monkey, and that looks very much like a vervet, slightly different. I'll actually see if I can interweb a picture. I don't think I have a mammals. No, we'll look, because I don't think my mammals book hasn't got any colored pictures in it, which will make it a little bit difficult. Let's just have a look though. Savannah baboon. Check here. It's got all the different types of baboons and monkeys and things, but that's the one that we see here. But you want to see the samangos, you've got to go towards the coast, Natal, so Durban sort of areas got lots of them. Even in Hogsback, so the Eastern Cape, they've got samango monkeys right through along the west coast as well. In some of the foresty areas around there, Tsitsikamma, you can see them too. So they're quite limited. We don't see them up here, unfortunately, but they're really pretty. As we move along, when we find something, we get better signal. I'll see if I can have a look. Or you can all do me a massive favor, and I'll be so happy, is that perhaps somebody can quickly pop in samango monkey onto their browser and then snatch up a picture and then post it on Twitter by adding the hashtag safariLIVE to it, and then that way everybody can have a look. But they almost look identical, of course, to the vervets, just slightly bigger eyes, I think. Now we're going to keep searching. I'm hoping to find some elephants. I know James is also looking for elephants, but he, like us, has got distracted and found some waterbuck instead.
I did not so much get distracted, everybody, as have to give up the search because we were about to trespass. So here we have a little herd of waterbuck. They are, of course, waiting to leave Chitwa Chitwa. You see that, David? You get my joke, do you? You don't. Well, look around us, and what do you see? Yes, and what else? If you were to pan off to the front of the car, what would you see there? Yes, and just in front of the horizon, this long strip of dirt is a runway. Okay, so let's go back to the original riddle or joke. They are waiting to leave. Why would I have said that? Because they are waiting for an aeroplane. Well done. Good. Excellent. I'm glad we've got that. Very sophisticated joke there, obviously, or just a very bad one. Probably the latter. Very fluffy waterbuck, and they, of course, will probably be quite relieved for the winter, given the fluffiness of their hair. And yet again, nowhere near the water at all. I said to them, "Do you want to be on TV?" when we got here, and they looked at me, some chewing, sort of like that. And I said, the most romantic thing to fly into an area like this. Now, Marco, who I suspect is Siberia Zumi, I'm afraid your question was lost in the ether through the blethering of the Game Drive channel, which I'm now going to turn down so that I may give you my undivided attention. Here we go. Which antelope species is habituated the easiest? Well, it depends, Marco, whether you mean on foot or in the vehicles. I think that on foot the bushbuck and nyala become most fighting most easily. But that's because they live around the camps quite often, and when they live around the camps they see people a lot and they stop associating us with fear. So they are pretty good. In the vehicles, I don't think what you can get closest to. Definitely not a steenbok or a duiker. Or a kudu. Impala are not great, you know. They just tend to be in the open a bit, so we see more and there are lots of them. It might actually be these guys. It could easily be the waterbuck. These chaps are being particularly confiding. They're sitting about 20 meters from us, watching us. Two of them are lying down. So I'm going to go with waterbuck, Marco. They're now watching something behind us. What is it, David? Is it a cheetah approaching? Or just a Birchall starling. Probably a Birchall starling. I don't know. That's basically where that wildebeest was, somewhere over there. Brian, you're wondering about antlers on waterbuck and whether they ever get antlers. Brian, none of the animals out here get antlers at all. The animals out here, or the antelope out here, are not the same as deer. That's one of the distinguishing features between deer and antelope. Antelope get horns and deer get antlers. Now, these particular waterbuck will never get horns because they're female, and in fact one of the easiest ways to discern whether an antelope is a male or a female is the presence of horns. Some antelope females have got horns, but most of them do not. And these chaps here have got no horns, and the male's horns are permanent. So they never lose them. They are not like antlers, which of course fall off every season. So these females will never have horns. The males have got a massive, very beautiful set rack of sort of rapier-like horns. And they're a good sort of, I would say, 30% larger than these females. And they live generally solitary existences when they're big adults. But they will join up with each other in bachelor groups when they're a bit younger. Right, otherwise everything is very peaceful indeed. I've heard no reports of lions or leopards from anywhere at the moment. So what we're going to do is continue our merry way along towards Cheetah Plains, and Tristan, who is on foot of course, has found some footprints of something else other than himself.
Indeed we have. So we've found the footprints for where Tingana walked in the early hours of this morning, and it's amazing. From far you can actually see them quite clearly, but when you come a little bit closer they almost disappear. So you can see them going up the road here, and the reason why we know it's Tingana is one, because Taylor found it, and I know that the direction that these are heading is straight to where Taylor found it, but two is because of the size and the route that he's walked. Now this road that we're on, which is basically goes to Philemon's Dip and then up to Quarantine, is Tingana's favorite route. Every time he comes from the north or south, he uses this road to be able to walk on. So that's why we know it's him. And the reason why I know it's a male, if we have a look at this track over here, so here we've got his footprint, you can see that it is quite big. For those of you that maybe were watching last night, I was with Shadow and the cub, and I was tracking them, and I was showing the sizes of their tracks. Now Shadow's track, if I put my finger down, it was from about there on my finger to the tip of my finger, whereas if I put this next to Tingana's track, you can see that there is still quite a big difference between to the end of his toes. So much larger size than what we see with a female leopard, and the cub track was only about that big. So that little cub track would fit inside just his pad alone. So that's one reason we know it's a male. The second was, if this was a smaller track and it was still a male, you can still tell that it's a male just by using this outer edge here. You see that there's a very rounded edge that comes off. Now on a female, that won't look like that. The female will have a very angular edge, so on a female you'll end up with that kind of an edge to it, so it'll almost make like a sharp point, whereas with the male leopard they have this rounded section that comes round and forms the edge of their lobe. Now the reason that if we had come across these and Taylor hadn't found Tingana, we would have known that these are quite fresh. These were tracks that we would have followed, and for a variety of reasons. If you have a look here, you see that there is a genet track. So there's a very small little track there. So there it is, and that is from a little genet. Now the genets are active at night, and so if you follow this genet track going upwards, you see that Tingana's track eventually crosses over the genet and it goes on top. So you know that Tingana has definitely walked around at some stage during the early hours of the morning, because the genets are active at night. Early hours of the morning, the genets are already going back to sleep, so they're not going to really be on the roads that much. The second thing is that the dove tracks that we have here, they're on top of those too. So here is the little dove track that we've got. Now they're on top of those. Doves only come out at around sunrise, so he would have walked here just as the sun was coming up, which is when Taylor found him a little bit further on. So that is how we use tracks and other signs of other animals to be able to determine the freshness of tracks. And like I say, had Taylor not found him, these would have been tracks that we would have tried to follow. But Herbie and I were laughing about it, because with Tingana, to follow from behind like this is almost impossible. He walks too fast. You need to almost loop around to the next block and and to see the next road and see if they hasn't crossed yet, and that's how you've got to try track him. Otherwise it's almost impossible. He just walks too fast to track him on foot. He always seems to be going somewhere, Tingana. Just seeing where Herbie was looking at the tracks there as well. Seba, beautiful. You were saying, do leopards have better sight or smell? Seba, beautiful. Thank you, Megan. It's a difficult one, and their eyesight is absolutely incredible, and so is their sense of smell. I'm not sure either one has been measured against each other. They're such different senses that it's quite difficult to say, but they definitely use both extensively in their search for food as well as holding of territories. In terms of the sense of smell, they can work out who's in their territories and what's going on and whether or not there's a threat. Just be careful there, Eggsy, there's a big stump. So they can use their sense of smell in that regard, but in terms of hunting, I've seen leopards trying to locate prey animals like duiker, especially because duikers hold small territories. They find them by utilizing their dung. So they find an area where a duiker is defecated, and then they just scent from there. And I've seen them actually locate on those duikers fairly often. So they can use their scent like that, but their eyesight is also absolutely incredible, particularly at night. A leopard's eyesight is very, very good at night, and the reason why it's so good is because they have sacrificed their color vision, so they can't see like we do and see all these bright, vivid colors that we pick up in this color spectrum. They unfortunately see in a more gray, monotone kind of way, and the reason for that is because they have two types of cells in their eyes, so same as us. They have cones and rods. Now cones provide color, so when you have a cone cell, it picks up color, and we have almost 50-50% ratio between our cones and our rods, whereas with the lions and leopards and these cats that have spent a lot more time active at night, they have very, very few cones. Almost 90% are rods, and so they're able to see like we do in the night. They can see very, very clearly in the night. So in nights, you probably find that they use their sense of sight much better, but during the day they will use both effectively, and I reckon it's probably an even contest between their sense of smell and their sense of sight. It would be amazing to see in the dark like that, wouldn't it? Imagine being able to walk around in the dark and actually see exactly like they do. And I suppose the infrared cameras that we've been using, so we've been trialing these infrared cameras to go to the Mara and to do some shooting at night, and also here at Djuma to be able to utilize at night so that we can see the behavior of certain animals that otherwise we wouldn't be able to watch. Things like zebras, impalas, elephants, buffalo. We can't normally watch them at night because of the spotlights, but with the infrared we're able to get a secret peek into the nocturnal darkness, and it's amazing. Last night we tested an infrared light with VM, and it was pitch black. You could not see a thing. There was absolute darkness, and there when you turned on the IR light you had a very, very clear, clean picture of the zebras and impalas moving around in quarantine. It really was quite something. So pretty amazing that we are developing these kind of technologies where we are able to sort of see in the dark and be able to watch animals and you know, change the way that things are, and be able to utilize technology to overcome our shortfalls when it comes to the night times. Right, we're going to carry on and see what little things we can find. We're going to go check some of the little water holes, see if maybe there's any frogs around or spiders or any of those kind of things. And while we do that, let's go across to Miss McCurdy and see where she's going and what she's up to. She seems to have had all the luck this morning, so hopefully it will continue.
I do indeed hope it does continue. So we just got a little bit of insight. We've actually changed our route completely now. We're heading back west towards Gowrie Gate. And that's because Andrew had said that from the west, apparently the Nkuhumas have moved out of Simbambili, and actually they moved towards the gate. They had their tracks, and then that was it. They can't traverse any further than the gate. So this is where we take over and we start searching, because we've got all the access in the world around that area. So what we will probably do first is we'll probably jump and go towards the wardens' houses, which you'll see in a moment, and we'll just quickly check towards Sydney's dam, because what we don't want to do is spend all our time searching in Pilot Plains, Sandy Patch, Aubrey's if they've already crossed into Sydney's and north and into the Manuleti. We don't think it's silly and such a waste of time. So we'll check there first. If there's nothing there, then we'll come back and then we'll start bobbing and weaving in between these roads. We know that there's nothing down Although down Aubrey's, I'm not sure, but it looks like somebody has driven on there, and I'm sure that they would have reported tracks. So hopefully there'll be something from Aubrey's sort of back west towards the gate again. So let's keep our fingers crossed. And it sounds like it was I don't know how many lionesses, but definitely the females that have the cubs that have crossed this way. Well, that's cool. I'd like to see all the cats today. We've had a couple of catless drives, but I'm glad that we just broke the leopard spell. I think that that's something that I'm most excited about today. How many drives are we on, VM? Without leopards? 6 or 7? I don't know, it was a long time. It was definitely at 3 days at least that we didn't see leopard, maybe even a little bit longer. And I'm sure the guys are still trying to see if they can pick up on him, and I'm sure he's fast asleep because we would have seen his tracks crossing out. So that's sort of good news for us too. It gives us something to work on for this afternoon, because we know what he's like. He'll probably sleep most of the day off. Hopefully he doesn't move too far, and then we'll be able to pick up on him a little bit later. It doesn't seem like anybody's actually driven down here this morning. Right. We're just going to keep looking around here. And I'm actually happy that I can't see any game drive tracks coming this far around. Just because it means that we'll have a better opportunity, of course, seeing any lion tracks. Or actually, no, that doesn't make sense. I'd prefer to have a game drive vehicle driving here, because then at least they're looking for... Excuse me, I've got hiccups now. For footprints, rather than perhaps a vehicle going to just pick up some stuff or drop a delivery off or something along those lines. The last thing that they're worried about is poking their heads out the windows and getting cold and looking for animal footprints. There are lots of impala tracks at the moment. Just keep searching around here. We're not too far from the gate. And then hopefully we'll see exactly where they came in. I'm going to check a little bit over here. No. Nothing of importance just yet. Just lots and lots of impala tracks. And sometimes what happens, when the impalas all walk together and their footprints go over the top of each other, as you're driving and from the height that we're looking, it almost looks like occasionally that there's the odd predator track on the ground. You sort of slam on brakes thinking, yes, you know, got something good, then it's nothing. It can be a little bit disappointing at times. That's also something that I'm starting to learn out here in the bush, is that, well, you've got to have lots of patience. Crazy Cat Lady, I love your handheld name, that's fantastic. And you're wondering if I ever miss the animal characters when I'm on leave. All the time. I'm always excited to go on leave because it's nice to have mornings to sleep in and to go and do, well, things that you don't get to do in the bush all the time. But normally after about 4 days I'm done and I'm ready to come back again. And I'm definitely going to miss the African wildlife when I head to Australia. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to try and see as much of the wildlife around Australia that I can, but I don't know if I'm going to get that adrenaline fix. Perhaps if I find some big saltwater crocs, or maybe the odd snake lurking in the not necessarily the gardens, but the farms that most of my family live on, perhaps. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what we're going to get up to. But I'll miss the elephants. I will miss all of the animals out here so much. Particularly the elephants, I think, are the ones I miss the most. The interactions that you have in the vehicles with them. That's from my favorite. And the smells, not even just the animals, the smell that you get out here is so clean and fresh. And the early mornings, the sunsets and the sunrises, you can't compare them when you're in the city. They're just not the same at all. So yeah, there's a lot. And that's probably one of the reasons why I'll never move away from Africa. There's no place in the world, or anywhere else in the world, where you get to have the animal species, the sunsets, the sunrises. We really do live on a great continent. Okay, so here we are. You'll see all the buildings start, all the big TLBs and graders around here. And now this is when we need to have a look and see where exactly they said these lions crossed. I haven't seen anything just yet, but they could actually have gone through the corridor too. Right, they could have passed right next to the gate. Let's check, because they often use this road. But if 3 lionesses and 6 cubs walk past you, we'll definitely shouldn't have a problem with seeing tracks. And that, there are none of at the moment. Let's see, I did just see a vehicle driving over here. Okay, we're going to keep searching around here. I'm going to go and do proper investigation around the gate itself, which may require me to jump out. So James has now traveled all the way to Cheetah Plains. There was apparently lots of action last night happening around in Koro and those areas. Who knows who may pop out in Kanyeni, quarantine. Got my fingers crossed for you, James. Let's go see how he's going.
Well, no, none of those. We've got an elephant here. I'm not sure where Taylor's got her information from, that there was major action here on Cheetah Plains. I received no such information. Anyway, there is an elephant. That's not quarantine. Quarantine, of course, is a leopard. In Kanyeni, also a leopard. And she said to me earlier this morning, she said, "Are you going to Cheetah Plains to follow up on all that action?" I said, "What are you talking about?" And, well, here we are on Cheetah Plains looking for action, and we found some just behind a termite mound. Now, the reason that there's an aerial in your shot is that we drove past the bush that elephant is hiding behind, and we didn't see the elephant, and so it got a bit of a fright, and we got a bit of a fright, so we just stopped, and we just thought we'd just let things ride a bit. Well, that's interesting. That's a young bull, the one in front, and that one now opening her ears to us and telling us that she's not that comfortable with us as a cow. Now, there are 2 things that are interesting about that. The first is that they will tell you that a cow's tusks do not grow out from the front, they grow downwards. It is very clearly not the case with her. How do I know she's a cow? Well, I know she's a cow if I look between her front legs. I can see very clearly that she's got mammary glands there. She's also got thin tusks, which is characteristic of the cows. David, am I talking rubbish? I don't think I'm talking rubbish. I'm just seeing something else there. But that, of course, as most of you will know, elephants have got internal genitalia. No, she's definitely got mammary glands, but she is dripping from the nether regions there. I'm not sure why. Let's just keep watching. Maybe I've made a mistake. It'll be an embarrassing mistake, but maybe I have. No, I haven't. She's definitely a female. She's pregnant, that's why. Can you see how the big swelling? I wonder if she isn't quite close to actually giving birth. She's certainly got itchy legs. I don't know if that's got anything to do with giving birth. Wonderful stuff. Let me just go a little bit back. An electric vehicle, my kingdom for an electric vehicle. It's all right, my dear. I promise you we mean no harm. She's not an old cow, but maybe she's the matriarch of this little herd. I don't know how many elephants are here exactly. I've only seen 3. And that's very classic behavior, saying, "Listen, I'm not comfortable." She's now moving the youngster away. Now, it's interesting, a cow like this is when I say she's not very old, I would put her at about 20 or so. Maybe a little bit older, maybe 25. And so the likelihood of her actually giving us a proper rev, having a go at us, is small. But it's not impossible. But the point is, we don't really want to push her to the point that she either wants to run away or attack us. Sorry, Dave, I know this isn't a great picture for you, but I'm not going to move at this stage. She's not very happy. And so our only movement from here would be to move away from her, to increase the space so that she could see that we meant no harm to her. I am not somebody who subscribes to the school of thought that we need to show the animals who are boss, because, well, I'm under no illusions as to who's boss. And Cindy, you're saying you wonder if she isn't in labour. Well, Cindy, I don't think that that's a bad thought, because she's definitely dripping from where the baby would come out, and she's also got that very distinctive flow of hormone from the glands there, the temporal gland, and that indicates stress, whatever kind of stress it is. So she could easily be coming into labor, or maybe she's just having cramps, or I don't know, something painful, but she's definitely not in the happiest mood she's ever been in. Alright, I think we're going to move on from these chaps. We're just going to let them quietly enjoy their day, and I'm just going to roll the car forward rather than start the engine. And she's just watching us go quite carefully. Tristan, I nearly said Steph, but I meant Tristan, of course, has got something flying, but it has no backbone.
It indeed has no backbone, like some unscrupulous people in this world, but it is a butterfly. It's not flying very much at the moment, James. It's very stationary, and that's because it's drying its little wings. It's still quite wet out here. There's been a little bit of dew, and so a small little butterfly like that will have got a bit of moisture on its wings, and it's now, unfortunately, have to dry out before it can start flying. So earlier I was alluding to the fact that the insect's activities won't be too high to start with, but as we start to get going, so it should happen. And this little common blue that is sitting on this flower is the perfect example of how the insects wait until the sun comes up just to dry their wings a little bit before they're going to be able to fly around. And its name, the common blue, if it opens its wings, it's got a very faint blue coloration on the top of the wings. The underside is very plain like this with that little orange stripe in the bottom corner. And so very, very pretty little butterflies. And this is the female. The male has got a lot more color than what the female does. The female is more drab grey coloration than the male. But it's quite common to see them on these Waltherias. They're often around, and you can actually see the little flower of the Waltheria just underneath them. So they'll be getting the nectar from that. And that is what they'll be feeding on. Very, very nice. Now, if we just sit here and we are just sitting, and it is actually the most amazing thing just to listen to all the sounds. So there is a lot of birds calling, so I'll keep quiet for just 2 seconds just so you can hear all the birds around me and hear the sounds of the morning as it starts to get going. Isn't that amazing? So you can hear monotonous larks, there's some of the Cape turtle doves, there's the rattling cisticola that's shouting at us, that bzz, 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 bzz. And the monotonous larks are the ones that are making that beautiful little call in the background. Now, for those of you that are only joining us now, my name is Tristan, so I'm on bushwalk this morning, and we're looking at all things little this morning. We're trying to find smaller things that, because Taylor had a leopard and James has had hyenas and elephants, they've been getting all the big animals, so I thought we'd start focusing more on little things and see what else is out here. It's actually quite incredible how many small little flowers I've seen come up in the last few days. There's been lots of flowering plants. These Waltherias where the butterfly was sitting had no flowers a week ago. They were done flowering, and a little bit of rain that we had has just spruced everything up, and we're finding that there's a lot more flowers. In fact, there's another beautiful flower right here. So, if you have a look in there, you see that there is this beautiful African violet. Is that not the most sensational color? It's incredible. So vibrant. Maybe let me get these out the way for you, Eggsy. How's that? Is that a bit better? Isn't that amazing? Now these guys only come up after the rain. We don't see them too much before the rain starts, so if it hasn't rained you won't see them, but they are really pretty little flowers and stand out quite a bit amongst the drabness of the rest of the greens and browns that we see in the bush. So we're going to carry on looking for little things and little insects, and while we do that, let's go across to Taylor and see where she is and what she's up to.
We've got a couple of mongoose that are playing just off of Triple M on an animal pathway. Though there's actually quite a few of them here, and hopefully they're going to come back out again. They're playing so nicely. But it's typical for them to bob and weave in the long grass. They don't want to stay out in the open for too long, because if they do, they run the risk of being spotted by a predator of some sort. Mostly a bird of prey, a raptor of some sort. Will swoop on over and snatch them up. Hello? Look, it's Mom. Mom feeding them. Did you see she had something in her mouth, a worm of some sort, and now the little pups have come over to try and, of course, snatch it up? Oh, look how tiny they are. Hello, little one. Very hungry and very satisfied with that, obviously, as well as it licks its lips. Yum, yum, yum. Delicious. And I love the way that they get so excited. And it's really interesting, and this is another reason why I love winter so much, is because as the grass disappears, we get to spend so much time with the dwarf mongoose. And those of you who have been watching for years and years, you know how valuable and how entertaining these little characters can be. So, the grass hides him. Let's bring on the big herds of buffalo, elephants, zebra, you name it, everything that eats grass, and hopefully they'll flatten it for us, because I'd love to see some of these little ones growing up and, of course, foraging with Mom and the rest of the family. But that's what they'll do. On a morning like today, we didn't get too much sunlight, so they're not having to warm themselves up. I had to actually put a jacket on because I feel as though it's got colder. But these mongoose, instead of warming up on a sunny termite mound, they thought that they'd give that a skip and just go straight into looking for food for the day. There's another youngster. Now, the only reason I can tell that it's a youngster is because it's so small compared to the adults. But they always exhibit that adult behavior, running around, scavenging. Now, it sounds like there's quite a few of them. There's lots of chit-chatter. I think they're living in a termite mound somewhere around here. But we're going to carry on. I'll give you an update about the nkuhumas the next time that you come to me. But let's go back across to James and see if he's found any more elephants.
We have found more elephants, astoundingly. I suspect Taylor knew that. She was just trying to be cryptic. We've got an interesting situation here where there's a bull elephant, a big bull, and a young bull. And there was something about this sighting that made me slightly uncomfortable, which is why I'm waiting for it to unfold in front of us. I don't know what it is. There was just something about it. And so I'm waiting to see what unfolds. Now, if you have just joined us, my name is James Hendry. There you are. Now you can see that, of course. And hashtag safariLIVE is how you get hold of us. And you can send us your comments or questions or anything else that you'd like to tell us. Well, yes, I'm just going to remove you've got a spider's web across your eyes, everybody. Let me move it. There you are. Let's go back to the elephants. Now, this is an interesting situation because often you will find what we call a young bull and his askari, so at least an older bull and his askari, where you've got an older elephant who's a kind of mentor to a younger one. And that's what this looks like to me. There's no reason for the little one to be with the big one other than for the comfort he provides and perhaps the mentorship. Now, what I don't want to do is get in their way, because they're having quite an interesting game, and we're now pretty much in their only path. So if they come too much closer, I'm just going to move slightly off the road so that they can have a bit more space. And in fact, let me do that now. Because what we don't want to do, especially in a situation like this, I don't think, is have an effect on the situation. We ideally just want to observe it. But I think it's already too late for that. I think the young one is now interested in us. So I'm just going to move to a position where there is space on either side of us so that he can go round us. I hope we're going to maintain picture. Megan, you'll have to tell me. We should be fine here. We certainly have been before. Let me just go all the way back to the junction here. Hello, new wave. I wonder if you're a new viewer. You want to know what the average lifespan of an elephant is. New wave, the average lifespan of an elephant in this area is probably about 55 to 60 years. Maybe a little bit older. Sometimes 65. I tend to go with the lower estimates because I'm not sure that we really know. And so it just sounds slightly less exaggerated. But yeah, up to 70 years in some places where the food's a bit softer. And I suspect in captivity probably also up to about 70 years. Right, now we can observe what's going on here without them paying too much attention to us. And I suspect they're going to go off towards the water, which is 3 in a row pans, not too far from here. Now, why did this make me feel slightly uncomfortable? I don't know. There's just something about the vibe that the big bull is giving off that made me slightly uncomfortable. It might be completely psychological. There's now a game drive vehicle behind them, obviously. See, he's turned to look. It's fascinating. I'm not sure that I've seen this before, you know. You hear about big bulls having 2 or 3 ascaris at a time. This chap's just got one. And so let's give a... Oh, man. I'm not sure where you left off there, everybody. Sorry about that. I think I'm going to guess their ages. I would say that the front one is less than 20. And the back one, not very old, probably 35 odd. Which, David, I know sounds old to you, but really it isn't. It's quite a nice picture there of the tracker sitting in the background. Just gives you an impression of the size of these elephants. A very distinctive split in the big one's ear there. Yeah, I mean, that's a kind of dominance behavior. And the big one is initiating this sort of play behavior, not the little one. I wonder if the big one is actually as much as 35. Now let's see how he reacts to us. See if he just ignores us completely, or if he turns his attentions towards us. He's got quite a sandy ear there, David. He hasn't cleaned his ears today. Hope he's teaching his ascari slightly better personal hygiene. Totally ignored us. That's quite interesting. Feather beautiful. Of course, the great legend is that an elephant never forgets. And you say, do they have good memories? They do, you know. They have excellent memories, apparently, even for people. But they have hugely impressive memories for where water and food sources are. And it's a hugely important part of elephant societal life that the older ones pass on that knowledge to the smaller ones, to tell them where to find water when times are tough, which kinds of plants I suspect to eat which times of year. I think that is taught. It's very difficult to prove, but I'm pretty sure that that's what's taught. And it would seem that would take a fair amount of memory to remember the vast distances that they move, to remember where all of the water and the food is. And you do hear stories, anecdotal tales of elephants who have come into contact with people, probably through domestic contact, and then the elephant's been set free or put to the wild, and they recognize the people again, sort of after years apart. It's very interesting that he just completely ignored us. He's not vaguely interested in what we're doing. The interaction is entirely between these two bulls. Mandy, you're wondering about what we do if the elephants charge us. Well, the first thing we do is scream very loudly. Then we wave our hands above our heads. And if that doesn't work, then what we start to do is sort of tear our clothes off in abject fear and then drop them on the floor and run away. Mandy, I'm being completely facetious. If an elephant charges, normally they will warn you, Mandy. So first of all, if an elephant has got to the point that it is so irritated with you that it's going to charge, normally you haven't picked up the signs. And if you have picked up the signs, that what you will do is make sure that the vehicle is in a position that it can go away frontwards. You do not want to be reversing away from an elephant bull. So let's pretend that this chap suddenly turned around towards us, lifted his ears, showed that he was irritated, then flapped his ears back and came in a full charge. From this position here, I would simply swing the car to the left onto the road and drive at a great speed. You can only really, during a serious charge, man, if an elephant is serious about charging, as opposed to just walking towards you with his head up, which is a warning more than anything else, the only course of action is to get out of there. You've got to move. And so the big thing that we learned when we started off guiding, especially in the early 2000s when the elephants weren't nearly as relaxed as they are now, was that you never went into an elephant sighting without a forward escape route. You often sat there with your hand on the key, just so that you could start quickly and move out, and you left the car in gear. So you would always have the car in first gear, and so you could just start and move if you had to. And that's just the way it happens. But remember, an elephant will almost always remind you or tell you and explain to you, in not words obviously, that it is upset and uncomfortable. And if you move that way, if you increase that space, normally that will be fine. Tristan has now got the precursor to the backboneless flying creature he had earlier.
We do indeed, James. We've got the ever-present caterpillars on the Waltheria, and these are the same caterpillars that James had when he was doing them in the tent for the TV shows. And I don't think we've come with an ID yet. I don't know if James maybe ID'd them. I certainly haven't found a positive ID for them. I've looked around, but nothing as yet. You can see they're a lot larger than when James had them. So James says they are part of the Acria family, which would make sense with those little spiky hairs that they've got on them and the little black ones that are around the face. Now, you can see they're absolutely demolishing that leaf, eating their way slowly but surely through it. And it's quite incredible to see how they've grown over the summer. We've been seeing them from when they were absolutely tiny. And they've slowly but surely grown and grown and grown. And in fact, I can actually see some very, very small ones in the background. So you can see how much they've grown. If we come here, now, let's see if we can find them. I did spot one here somewhere. Where was it? There we are. They're on the other side. So I wasn't crazy. But you can see them there. They're still very, very little at that stage, and they slowly but surely then grow a little bit bigger. Now, if you want a sort of size reference, there's my finger in amongst them, so you can see they're still very tiny there, whereas the ones that we were looking at just now are probably already about half the size of my finger. They've grown a lot more, and these guys should all start pupating and coming into adults fairly shortly. Well, they're going to have to, because winter is fast approaching, and they're not going to do so well in winter because all these Waltherias will die back. Waltheria actually doesn't last very long in the summer months at all. I mean, in the winter months, should I say. Now, it's amazing how far Tingana has walked. We're on close to Treehouse Dam at the moment, and his tracks come all the way up here. And Herbie was saying it just shows you how difficult tracking can be, because if you came across these tracks look quite fresh. They're on top of most of the nocturnal animals, so you would think, well, this leopard is not too far away, but actually this leopard has already crossed into Buffel's Hook, so it's gone a long way from here, and it just shows you would be on foot and you would walk all that way only to find that he's already long gone. And the only hope that you have when you're following on foot and you find tracks like this is that the leopard has gone stationary somewhere. So either you hear alarm calls or you hear some sort of sign that that animal is in front of you, or it goes stationary and it lies down somewhere, and then you'll be able to track it down and find it. Otherwise, it's a very, very long process. It will take you all day to follow these and to try and catch up with him. And that's just when he's walking on the road. You can imagine now when he starts going into this thicket, how difficult it's going to be to even follow any footprints through that. That there is a carpet of grass, and a light-footed animal like a leopard is not going to leave the biggest signs that it was there. It's going to be really tough. The only nice thing about following tracks, especially of a territorial male like this, as he's doing his territorial patrol, is that you walk along and every now and then you just get that whiff of buttery popcorn that Taylor was alluding to this morning as he's scent marked. So it's quite pleasant actually. You've got these beautiful smells that are drifting through the breeze as you walk. So very, very, very pleasant at all. Very nice of Tingana to leave that, although apparently it's making Herbie very hungry. Herbie said to me he's very hungry this morning, and so I'm sure the smell of buttery popcorn is not ideal for somebody who is hungry. It's amazing how popcorn can make you feel hungry even when you're not. Right, we're going to go down towards Treehouse Pan and see if there's any sign of anything there. I know I had some buffalo bulls yesterday close to Treehouse Dam, so I'm hoping maybe they'll be around, or maybe some ellies that are coming for an early morning drink. And while we do that, let's go across to Taylor and see if maybe she's got any more anti-gremlin dances for us, or what she's up to this morning.
Nope, I'm done with dances for the year now. You've seen it all. I will not get more ridiculous than that. Hornbills. Hi, hornbills. They're munching on the road. Now, I want to tell you before I get into discussion about the... hang on, wait, no, let's talk about the hornbills. Look at them. So, they've now destroyed... This is obviously the main culprit of the animals that get rid of the temporary structures that termites like to make in the middle of the night. It looks like their mound is... They're starting to increase their mound. But alas, the Godzilla yellow-billed hornbill has come through and completely demolished their buildings. That is not very nice. But of course they need to do it. They've got to eat, and termites are full of fat and full of protein. So it's one of the main reasons as to why they will do something like that. And those termites will be alright. As soon as the first hornbill landed and started smashing its beak against that newly sort of compacted soil that they've got there, they all would have started to descend. The soldiers would have come out to try and protect the mound, but once they realized that there are birds and things there, I'm sure that they all went, no, we're out of here, we're going to go underground. Hi, wormy. And there they are. I've even got a worm now. Have a look here. An inchworm that we've picked up from somewhere. Whoop, and go. I love this. I love the way that they move. That's really fascinating watching caterpillars, and I'm not sure which caterpillar you had with Tristan, but either way, some of the inchworms, which is most likely a larvae of a moth. Oh, and a spider. VM, look at the spark spider. Come here. Oh no, I chased it away. It was so beautiful because it had so much red on it. Let me see if I can see it again. Oh my goodness, it's rolled up into a tiny little ball. It looks like a piece of bark, literally. Let me catch it. I don't want to pick it up because I don't want to get bitten, so we'll try and get it gently. Here it is. That is a beautiful bark spider, and as you can see, when I pull their front legs up towards their jaws, their fangs, they completely blend in. I'm going to bring my multi-tool here just to show you. That's the edge of the pliers. Look how small it is. And if you're not convinced, let me show you my little finger. That is my little finger. Now there's a vehicle just behind us, so let me just pull off the road and we'll have another little chat about our worm and our spider, who luckily for us not going too far. So let's do this. We'll just pull off the road like here. Right. Now something that's really amazing, and I'm hoping that this little bark spider will actually walk for us. Let me see if I can just encourage it a little bit. Here we go. No, it's hiding again. See how it brings its legs in, it becomes completely camouflaged. Now you can also see how tiny the worm is. It is really, really small, the two of them. And a bark spider would eat something like this, but they don't actively hunt. So I'm uncertain. I don't think that this bark spider would just go and catch that caterpillar now. They build webs, and they utilize those webs, and obviously it traps the prey that they can't move around so much. Then they will bite it and inject it with venom. And then after that, they'll wrap it up in a silken cocoon where they'll eat it. They'll either eat it straight away or they'll eat it a little bit later. But this worm also doesn't. This little inchworm doesn't seem to be too bothered at all by the spider. Do you want to be released? You can't go down there. That's actually really pretty. Now, spider, please walk so we can see the beautiful bright red that you have in between your legs. It is really quite nice. And it's just amazing as well the things that you pick up as you're driving around in the bush. Ant lions, driver ants, lunar moths. I've picked up a lunar moth before. Yeah, that's really cool. Isn't this interesting? We've just taken a break now from all the big cats and we're focusing on some of the smaller things. So what I wanted to tell you about the nkuhumas as you watch this little wormy move around was, sadly, we did see all the tracks of 3 lionesses and 6 cubs, but unfortunately they go across to the Manuleti. They look like they had a good investigate around all the wardens' houses, literally walking right up the fence line, smelling the gates and all types of things, because there are a couple of anti-poaching dogs in that area too. So I'm sure they were quite inquisitive as to what those smells were. But sadly, they didn't come back onto our traverse. They just popped through for a quick visit, and they have gone north. So whether they're just sitting behind Sydney's Dam, or if they've gone into the Manuleti, I'm not exactly sure. They definitely went around there somewhere. Right. Get back in your pouch. Put that away. And you two, we'll put you out in a moment. Maybe we should do that now quickly. Just drop him off. Now I have to take it out again. A little wormy, I shall pick you up very gently. Wormy does not want to be picked up. But yes, I think it's time that we release these animals. You guys don't need to stay here. Wormy, come. That was easy. Here's your new home on this branch, on this bush willow. There we go, got your footing. Bark spider, you next. Now this is going to be tricky, but you can actually see the red that I was talking about. Look at this spider, how cool is it? What are you doing now? Let's see what this little spider is doing. It's very inquisitive. I might keep it for a little bit longer. Aren't you beautiful? Right, we're going to try and very gently put this bark spider on a tree somewhere. But before James's bird flies away, let's go and have a look at a kingfisher.
Yes, before the bird flies away, and indeed that little mini bark spider, as it was described to me, we'll have to watch out for a woodland kingfisher, because a woodland kingfisher would eat a mini bark spider, even a mini bark spider. And you may have noticed that while the monotonous lark has become the loudest thing in the wilderness, the woodland kingfisher has become largely silent over the last little while. The breeding season, David, is over. And as I was describing yesterday on sighting the great massing of the barn swallows before their trip back to the north, the quieting or changing of the dawn chorus and the calls around here leaves one with a feeling of slight melancholy that the end of the season has come. I see we have a question here from a aficionado of the Game of Thrones, the Song of Fire and Ice, Tormund Giantsbane. Thank you for your question. I'm afraid that's all I heard from your question. The only thing I heard was your name, and I was so astounded and therefore did not hear the question. You say, where do they go in the summer? They go into North Africa, do the woodland kingfishers. They go, I think, to Senegal, actually. That's sort of far northwestern Africa. But they go into just north of the equatorial region, into the savannas around there, just south of the Sahara. There we go. It's giving a little bit of a call. It's nice to hear still. See if it gives another one. Thank you, Tormund Giant Spain. Yeah, it's wonderful. We've had some great Twitter handles today. Nothing from Tormented Zombie Owl today. Very beautiful bird. All right, let's leave him. What we're going to do, we're going to the sort of northeastern corner of Cheetah Plains. That's pretty much just over there. And we're going there because Nkanyeni and her baby were seen around there yesterday, I think. Not on Cheetah Plains, just on Nkoro, on the Nkoro side. Now, Tristan is still knocking about with worms, and he'd like to tell you some more about them.
Indeed we have, James, but this is absolutely incredible. We've come along to Treehouse Dam, and Eggsy spotted this dead tree that's got a whole bunch of the caterpillars that are going through the next stage of the life cycle. So they are all going into the pupa or chrysalis phase, where they are prepping to go under this development and change, where they are going to become the adult butterfly. So you can see there's the caterpillar, that is the yellow one with a little spiky black on it. So I would imagine it's another one of the Acrea families. It looks very similar to the other ones we had, but its black spikes go throughout the body. And then just to the right of that, you can see there's another one that is starting to go under the change. You can see the wings that are starting to form, and the actual coloration is changing completely. And it's absolutely incredible to see this process taking place. I am going to definitely come here on a day-to-day basis and try and follow to see what goes on. You can see they spread out all over the place. We've got them all up the sides here. Here's another one that's busy changing, and you can actually see the little tiny wings there developing inside that casing. It's absolutely amazing. I'm so chuffed that we found this. Well done, Eggsy. This is very, very cool. Like I say, I want to come and see exactly what they are. Well, Mandy, a lot of them will have bright colorations that are yellows and blacks, and that generally signals to any animal out here that they are toxic in some way or that they are not tasty to eat. It's called aposematic coloration. So you find blacks and reds, blues and reds, greens and reds, yellows and reds, and yellows and blacks, and combinations of all those colors will make animals think twice about eating them. So that's the one side of it. The other side of it is this particular tree that they're busy doing the pupating on is a very sharp thorn tree. It's called a buffalo thorn, so it's got these lots of little spikes, so it's quite difficult for anything to negotiate this. If I put my hand in there, I'm going to be very upset with life because I'm going to get spiked all over the place. And then the other thing is that when they're in this stage here, they're going to have this hard, almost exoskeleton that goes over them, so that chrysalis is quite tough and quite hard, and it's very difficult for anything to break into them. I'm sure one or two of them might get grabbed by a roller at some point, and especially when they hatch and they come out, then you're going to find that they are a little bit susceptible to predation. So you're going to find that while the wings are still drying out, then they get grabbed a little bit. But most of them will try and feed off a toxic plant when they're a caterpillar. That helps to make them a little bit toxic as the caterpillar, and then therefore not fed upon. But in this stage, they're using the tree as a defensive mechanism, so all these spiky thorns are helping just to keep these little guys quite safe. Well, Sam, I'm not 100% sure if these ones are. I want to actually ID them, so I haven't seen these yellow ones with the black spikes yet this summer, so I want to go back and just ID exactly which ones they are. But depending on the species, they could possibly be. Like I say, generally when they have bright colors like this, yellows and blacks, it tends to signify that they might have some sort of toxin in them. It might just be a fooling process, so sometimes you'll find that some of them mimic, so they'll be able to have those colorations just to try and fool predators. They actually aren't toxic at all, but it'll be difficult to say without actually identifying the exact species and knowing exactly what this caterpillar would have fed off. Because the buffalo thorn that you see here is not what that caterpillar grew up on. It would have grown up on another type of plant, and it's just moved to this open branch with thorns for protection, and then when it hatches, it's nice and open that it can dry wings very, very quickly and fly out of here. It doesn't want to be in a place where it's foliated, because if this buffalo thorn had lots of leaves on it, you're going to find many other animals are going to come feed off it. So things like elephant, kudu, they're going to come and feed off that plant and then disturb this whole process. So they use these dead trees a lot more when they do this. So it will be interesting to see. I'll definitely try and ID them this afternoon or during the day today, and then I'll be able to answer that with a bit more authority as to whether these are toxic or not. But like I say, that coloration tends to suggest that they might be. When things are a little bit yellow in coloration with those black markings, then it tends to suggest that they might have that, or like I say, that they're just mimicking. But isn't that amazing? That's the first time I've come across a tree that has so many. Generally you just find one in a tree, but to find so many together is really quite incredible. And like I say, it'll be an interesting thing to come daily and just see the progress of those chrysalis and see how they develop. They should get much larger, and you should see the wings slowly starting to grow within that chrysalis. It should be really, really cool to follow. Right, now we're going to carry on, start turning back northwards, otherwise we're only going to get home around lunchtime. So we're going to start turning back northwards, and while we do that, let's go back to Taylor, who's now ended her dance career apparently, but maybe she'll sing you a song.
No song singing today either, Tristan. We're just having a quite normal day today. I haven't been normal for a while, so I thought that we would just we'll try and behave for a change. But one thing I have discovered is that Philemon's cut line is the road of flies. I think that is where all the flies come from. Oh, wait! Very annoying. They're all landing on us, but I got some, which is good. And I wanted to also tell you, so watching that bark spider just now, I'm on my way to the hyena den. I just want to see if it's become reactive again. You never know. It's warming up quite nicely. But that bark spider now lives in Rusty. It's now its home. We saw it stick up its cephalothorax earlier, and I couldn't quite see what it was doing. And I think it was releasing silk. Because the next minute after we linked away, that spider jumped onto a little line and went all the way towards VM's camera, which was quite amazing, and it wasn't there before. So I think that it was releasing silk from its spinnerets, and then the slight breeze that we have today obviously then drifted it, and then it got stuck onto the camera, so it's now living around there, which is nice. So I know James had the hyenas out earlier, but I really just wanted to come and have a quick little look around here in case, because I haven't seen these cubs for such a long time and I miss them because they're so lovely. But I think our luck has run out for this morning. I think it started and stopped sadly with Tingana because there is nothing here. Right, that's okay. Can't be lucky all the time. Let's carry on. I'm still looking for elephants. Oh, still have yet to see have my elephant fix for the day. Possibly we'll get it a bit later. And now I feel as though it's warm. I'm going to have to take this jersey off in a minute. Bye hyenas, have a good sleep. Maybe see you this afternoon. Off we go. I've got an idea. Let's see if there's anywhere in particular where any of you that are watching would like me to go. Maybe there's a nest you'd like me to follow up on or anything along those lines. So think of something for me to do, and then you can hashtag safariLIVE with it. Seeing as though we haven't got too many more plans, and then I shall go and investigate whatever you go and tell me to do. How does that sound? Right, but we're going to carry on searching now, and we're going to go all the way back across the Cheetah Plains with James. Maybe he will sing you a song.
No, he won't sing you a song. That was a cheap shot. You know, the problem is that Taylor is such a good sport that when she says something like that, it makes you feel a bit bad to refuse her. Let's see if we can't spot something else around here first, and then I will decide whether or not I should sing you a song. I was hoping desperately, of course, that there would be a cheetah here. There is not a cheetah. Well, there could be a cheetah 3 feet from the road. We just wouldn't be able to tell. And then I was hoping for this red-collared widow. No. Here comes a zitting testicular. Tick, 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 tick. And I stopped here and I thought, well, we might also be able to show the white-winged widow. There it is. No, there's a starling. Yeah, there's a starling. And all around us, the monotonous larks. So maybe for them the breeding season has not ended. It really is such a pretty sound. I'm trying to think of an appropriate song to sing, but I don't think that I can think of one. David, can you think of an appropriate song to sing? The viewers are now demanding, apparently, that I sing a song. You think that's allowed, David? Do you think they can demand that I sing a song? A song about a monotonous lark. You mean you want me to make one up as I go along? No, I know what I'm going to sing. I know what I'm going to sing. I haven't sung this for a long time. It's a Celine Dion classic. It's all coming back to me now. And by the time I have finished singing this song, I am willing to bet that I will never ever be asked to sing a song again on Game Drive. Are you ready, David? There were nights when the wind was so cold. There were days when I thought that I was going to die. I don't know the words, so I make them up. I was driving on cheetah plains, hoping for the collared widow bird to fly in the sky. But I was driving, then the cheetah looked it up. It was chasing an impala across the plains. And as I saw it run, I thought to myself, by God, can it survive? But when it runs like that, and when the impala snorts like that, it was gone with the wind, and it's all coming back to me. It's all coming back, it's coming back to me now. It's all coming back, it's coming back to me now. Another highlight. There were nights of endless pleasure. There were times I thought that I would die. Baby, 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 when you touch me like that, and when you kiss me like that, it was gone with the wind, but it's all coming back to me now. There's a bird over there. It's a yellow-billed hornbill. Thank you. Do you think that will have sufficiently cured everybody of a need to hear me sing on Game Drive? This is a particularly ill-equipped hornbill, doesn't seem to be very good at hanging around in the trees. There's a stony silence from the final control, and I suspect most people have now logged off and gone on to get on with their days or nights. And what I suspect this hornbill is doing is looking for caterpillars in the same way that Tristan is looking for caterpillars. It's always good to get that out of your system, you know, David. Sometimes one must sing like Celine Dion. Although if Celine Dion is watching, I don't think she would have thought I sounded anything like her. I think we've lost communications, that's why we've got a stony silence. Try once again. Michelle, yes? I've got you now. Michelle has nothing to say about my song. She says, do the hornbills migrate to other areas in the winter? Michelle, they do not. The hornbills do not migrate anywhere. They live here permanently. They just become slightly more silent during the course of the winter time. You know what, I think that walking across these plains might be a better bet. Thank you. Taylor thought I was singing opera. That's wonderful. It's of course because Taylor has clearly never heard proper opera before, because no opera singer would be confused with what I just delivered there. Appalling stuff. Ooh. Rebecca says that I sound like her and her girlfriends on a night out. That's horrific. What is that? I think it's a moth. Let me go and have a look. Oops, I'm going to have to go around the other side, sorry. It was gone with the wind, but it's all coming back to me now. It is not a moth. I think it's an egg sac. I think it's a covering, and inside it are probably eggs. Of what kind of a creature, I couldn't begin to tell you. I'll just prod it gently. It's quite hard. I would suspect that there's some kind of insect eggs stuck in there. Why it should be that white colour, I don't know. Maybe, again, to disguise it as a bird poop. And when you touch me like that, it's gone with the wind, but it's all coming back for me now. Good. On we go. Tristan seems to have found something further. This time, not a worm, a little creature.
Well, James, indeed. The little worms are now a thing of the past, and we are watching the busy effectiveness of ants, I would say, is probably a good way to describe this. But you can see all these grass seeds from the panicum grass, which Jamie so enjoys, and I suppose all of us, we all pick it and end up eating it at some point. But you can see what's happening is the ants have all gone, and they've gone and collected bits of this grass and seeds, and they're busy taking it down into their little hole over there. Isn't it amazing, the feverish activity that's going on, and how many ants there actually are in this area? It's quite amazing to see how efficient they are and how much work goes into keeping this colony alive. So inside here, underneath this base, will be a whole bunch of ants that will be busy moving around. It's quite incredible to see how much work that is. And you can imagine lifting one of those seeds is like us lifting a 20-kilogram bag of potatoes or something and carrying it home on your back. It's not the most easy thing to do, so quite amazing to be able to watch. Now, I'm very impressed with James, his singing capabilities, although I feel like his Celine Dion wasn't great. Now, I can't sing at all. Eggsy and I have just been chatting about this. Eggsy told me a very sad story about how his dreams were crushed when he wanted to be a rock star, and he went and studied journalism, and he went for a radio interview, and they told him that even radio, his voice is no good, that he shouldn't even bother with singing because there's no chance. So I'm sorry about that, Eggsy. Don't worry, my dreams were also crushed when I was a youngster. I used to think that I was an opera star when I was a kid, and I used to sit in the shower and belt out all these opera songs. And one day my mom pulled me aside and told me that she loves me very much, but I have a lot of other talents, and singing is definitely not one of them, and so I should really try and avoid singing as much as possible for the safety of everybody else's ears. So, James, at least your voice is a bit like a monotonous lark, whereas mine and Eggsy, we seem to be like Hardy-Dars, unfortunately. I don't know where Taylor fits in this whole grand scheme of things. She's somewhere in between, I think. Although she's not shy of singing a little song around camp, actually. Taylor's always got some sort of vibe going, and songs are being sung, and it's quite infectious. It makes everybody else do it. You find everybody else just kind of blurting out little rhymes here and there. It's quite funny actually to watch. But like I say, we are slowly but surely making our way home, and it was quite funny. We were sitting on one of the roads here and walking along, and Taylor came past us, and she didn't even notice us. So you need to have a word with her, because had we been a group of lions, we would have been walking down the road and she would have just missed us completely. We even tried to shout at her and she didn't hear us. So she needs to be more vigilant, otherwise she's going to miss things as she goes. But so far, other than all the insects that we've had and monotonous larks that seem to have followed us everywhere this morning and been calling the whole way. Taylor says she'd be an annoying crowned lapwing. Well, I suppose she does make enough noise to be a lapwing. She could definitely be that, although she's not quite as squeaky as that. I don't know. I think we can find a better one, Taylor. I'm sure there's another bird that we can think of. Let me give it some thought and see what bird we can relate you to. But I suppose a lapwing is fairly fitting. I wonder, Brent would definitely be in the hardy dog category. What do you think, Eggsy? I think so as well. Jamie, what do you think about Jamie?
I don't know. I haven't heard her singing.
Yeah, Jamie, I don't know. I haven't heard her singing yet, but I feel like Jamie, she would produce a fairly nice sound. So maybe Jamie will be part of the canaries. Oh, Herbie stopped me. Oh, there we go. That's very, very nice. We've got a little praying mantis. There we go. Let me try get that open for you there, Eggsy. It's amazing how much life is on these Waltherias. It's incredible. You have all the caterpillars. We had that butterfly earlier. Now we've got the praying mantis. And the praying mantis obviously gets its name from its forelegs. So oh, I've just disturbed it, sorry. The way that it holds its forelegs, it looks like it's busy praying, so it holds its two legs together and lifts them up towards its face, and so that's how it got its name. But these guys are quite incredible. You find that the males are unfortunately abused a little bit in the relationship. Yesterday we had quite an in-depth conversation about males and how they handle relationships and why we just don't understand females, and James was giving us a big lecture about it, and it was very entertaining to listen to the whole thing and hear the disagreeing and agreeing on behalf of the men and the disagreeing and agreeing on behalf of the women. It was very funny. But in a mantid relationship, things are very much one-sided. I suppose that's like our relationships too. The women absolutely dominate. You'll find that they often kill the males by decapitating them, which is really quite something. Thank goodness in human society we don't have that situation, because I feel like many of us men would not survive very long if that was the case. But if you look down here, Eggsy, you see there's also... So those caterpillars we've been seeing all morning on the Waltherias, have a look at this. Down here are the brand new ones. Look at how small those are. They're absolutely minute. So we've been seeing all sizes. We saw the big ones, which I'm sure are almost ready to go into chrysalis form. Then we saw the medium ones, and now we've seen the brand new ones. That these must have just hatched from eggs. They can't be too old at all. I would say within a few days maybe, since they've hatched. Quite incredible. What a lovely morning it's been for butterflies and caterpillars, and it's been quite incredible to see what's been going on, and amazing that there's such a late bloom of all these butterflies. Careful, Eggsy. Oh. Eggsy just walked into a tree, unfortunately. This is the hazards of being a cameraman on bushwalk. He's so focused on looking at me that sometimes they walk into things, and I only notice too late as well. Sorry about that, Eggsy. Right, we're going to carry on, and let's go across to our crowned lapwing herself and see what she's going to be squawking about.
I'm a bit concerned now about Eggsy walking into trees and things like that. That's a bit sad. Funny at the same time. What I'm going to do is I've actually got something that I want to show you, but I'm just going to stop at the top of Twin Dams so that we can have a good look. And there's also Impala, which is nice. Hi guys. Let's see if there's a hippopotamus. No hippopotamus. Right. So this is something that I've actually been looking for quite some time. Let me do it here. Sorry VM, I can't decide which way I want to sit. I'm going to put it here so you can actually see it. Have a look at this plant. Now some of you may actually recognize it because you get it all over the world, and it is a type of a sedge, so it's got a very angular stem to it, and this particular one is called purple nut sedge, and it's been dubbed the world's most invasive plant. You can find it in over 90 different countries. How incredible is that? So it's native to South Africa as well as Central Europe and also Australia. And in Asia, I think you find it too. And even though it's quite invasive, it's actually a very handy plant to have around. Now, the part of the plant that we can see, unfortunately, is not the part that is useful, but they've got massive tubers that grow underneath the ground, and they are a very good source of starch and carbohydrate. So it's a plant that James would never touch, basically. And it's incredible. So the tubers can get quite long. They can get to about 20 centimeters, so sort of about that long. And they're bitter tasting, but it's definitely a massive diet. And it actually form a large part of the diet for the Aborigines in Australia, as well as in sort of famine-stricken countries in Africa too. So it's quite important. You see it growing everywhere, particularly in disturbed areas where it's quite dry. It doesn't like moisture too much, but because it's such a tough plant, it can, survive wettish areas too. So we see it a lot in the drainage systems, and you'll see it around here where the ground has been disturbed quite a bit. But I just find that it is just so amazing how something like this that causes massive problems and kills lots of crops. So it basically, you would call this type of a plant allelopathic, which means, and there's many different plants that do this, is that it has a harmful substance that it exudes from its roots, so it kills everything else around it. So when it does infest crops, so corn or maize and any wheat, anything that you can think of, it becomes a challenge for those crops to grow around it, because literally they cannot survive in the toxic soils that this plant has then created. And it is so strong, and I don't know if you've ever seen it if you're into gardening. Some people will put that black gardening plastic down on the ground to try and prevent weeds from coming up. That does not stop this stuff. This stuff actually pushes through all that plastic, which is quite amazing. But nevertheless, it's also got a couple of medicinal uses. But what I'll do is I'm actually going to try and find some more of it later this afternoon when I do bushwalk, and we'll try and dig one out. Now, Laura, you're wondering if you can use this as a dye. I haven't read anything particular about turning this into a dye at all. It's not quite like the Indigofera tinctoria, which is known, the indigo dye plant, which we see around as well. What you can do, and we'll try and dig out a tuber because I want to taste it. They describe it as being quite bitter. But it's edible. So we'll see if we can dig one out. We'll do it on bushwalk this afternoon. But what you can do with the tubers is, and what people would do is they'd take the tubers, they put them on a fire, and they take the burnt ashes and they'd apply it to wounds, so scratches and cuts and bruises, anything like that, and that was actually to help relieve it. But it's an amazing plant. But there's a couple of things that I want to tell you, but I'm going to save it for a little bit later, because we'll go into a nice proper discussion about this when we can dig out the entire plant, just to see how it sort of grows, because the whole way that it grows underground is actually quite interesting with the various tubers and roots. So we shall save it, and I found some nice ones on Weaver's Nest, so that's what we will do. Right. We're going to keep searching for elephants, because I'm not going home until we find an elephant. So VM, I hope you're ready for a long day, but I'm going to send you across to Tristan. As you've seen, he's on walk and he's also looking at a variety of plants.
So we are, Taylor. Yesterday afternoon, I believe that Project Alpha was asking James on Bushwalk if he could find her a bushveld gardenia. So Project Alpha, if you are watching, then we have found your gardenia for you. Unfortunately, it has been pushed over by elephants, so it is lying on a bit of a precarious position, but it is still growing. The leaves are still green. There is fresh shoots, so it means the roots are still in place. It's just going to grow at a funny angle now, which is going to be quite interesting to watch. But this is the gardenia. It's quite easy to identify with this sort of whitish colored bark, and then these little leaflets that come out in threes around a central stem, and so you can ID it from that way. Unfortunately, they're not flowering at the moment. They have the most spectacular, beautiful little cream white flowers that then turn yellow as they get older, and you see them in the spring before the sort of major rains come along. Now, Herbie was telling me a very interesting story about this tree and how they use it with the sangomas. So in this area we have these traditional healers, or sangomas as they're called, and they are people that a lot of the community members will go to when they have ailments. And he was saying that when they're in training, they will use this plant quite a lot, and it's basically how it works is that the instructor that is teaching these traditional healers, he basically goes and harvests a branch, and they look for these branches that are quite close to the tip that have these little sticks protruding off them, or little branches coming off them, and they basically will go in the very early in the morning, every morning, and they take it and they put it in water and they rub it like this, and it produces a foam. And then from there they have to put their hands behind their back, and then they go down and they eat that foam, and they say that it is a sign of respect, but it also connects them and the instructor together so that they can glean more in knowledge and information and be able to then follow in that instructor's footprints, which is quite amazing. Now, the reason why I found it quite interesting is because what I know about this plant is that the fruits as well as the leaves can induce vomiting, so they use it as a way of cleansing the stomach. So particularly if you have intestinal worms of some sort, so any of those worms, they take this plant and it helps just to cleanse it out and you induce vomiting. So I was quite surprised to hear that these guys actually eat the foam and that it doesn't cause vomiting. It must be something to do with the water that dilutes that chemical that causes the vomiting process. So quite interesting. It's amazing what you can learn out here. So it's an incredible thing to be able to combine Western world knowledge with the cultural knowledge as well. Sassy, you're wondering if we see wild sage? We do. I haven't seen for a few days now. I'll keep a lookout now as we go, but we do get it in this area. It's quite common. So let me see if I can find you some. Like I say, I haven't seen any this morning, but I will look around for some and see if I can find it. You often find it in the presence of the wild basils, and so quarantine will be a good place to look, which is where we're heading. So I'll try and keep an eye out for it and be able to then show you a little bit later. But as I was saying just now, it's amazing that the Western world and the cultural world combine, and you get these interesting facts that come together. And that's the amazing part of working with somebody like Herbie. I'm sure some of you may have saw the video that we posted online yesterday about Herbie and his story. And it's, we come from a thing where we learn from books and a little bit from experience, but they have so much knowledge of a very different kind and uses of these plants that we as Western people don't quite understand, because we often go to the pharmacy and we buy medicines. So to work alongside somebody like that who can teach you these things and show you these things is quite amazing, and it's constantly a learning experience both ways. So Herbie and I were just talking about it now. I was showing him another plant called a coral tree, and we were kind of discussing it, and so he's learning from us and we're learning from him, and it just makes it such a nice relationship to have, particularly on these bushwalks. It adds so much value to have his influence as well. Right, we're going to carry on. I'm going to go see if I can find a sage, and while I do that, let's go to Taylor, who see if she's still on a quest for elephants and whether she's had any success.
No, Tristan, our luck has completely run out. I'm checking all the favorite water holes now, so we're just at Chele Pan. But sadly, it doesn't look like there's anything here. Let's have a quick squiz though, you never know, maybe there's a bird having a drink of water. Yeah, here we'll have a gap. Nope. Very quiet at the moment, not even a dove having a sip of water. The Egyptian geese that normally live around here have moved on. Very, very quiet. But I'm sure as the day goes on and it warms up, we'll definitely start to see more things. Let's go check Pangolin Track. Maybe we get lucky. There's all those lovely... Oh no, what about Ingwe Alley? Should we do that? Yes, change my mind. We'll do a quick loop. We'll go down here and then we'll take the secret road. And we'll go through there, have a quick look around, and then if nothing, then we'll do Pangolin Trap. We'll just keep going round and round and round, hoping to find, well, something with a long trunk. Let's see. Now, they're always around here. Whether they're just feeding in the drainage systems, which is probably the case, which will explain why they're so hidden. Is that a blister beetle? Can you see there's that big flower in here? Yes, straight in there, you've got it. Keep it on there. I'm gonna start the car. The camera's gonna shake. I'm just trying to get a view for VM of this flower, because I think there's a blister beetle in there. Now that's a flower that I don't want to go sticking. Yes, it is. It's a CMR beetle. Look at that. Feasting, eating away at the flower. Now this is one that you don't want to touch because of the cantharidin. If you get that stuff all over your body, you are going to blister up. Now, it's quite a big beetle. Like I said, I'm not going to go and touch it. You can, but it's probably the length of your index finger I would use to describe it, because I'm most definitely going to end up with severe blistering on my body, and nobody wants that. It's the most horrendous thing. I've only ever had one incident with a blister beetle before, a CMR beetle in Zambia. One fell on me out of a tree, and then of course I panicked and I swatted it, and it got very upset with me, and I had these boils, I suppose you could call them, not quite boils, but big blistering all down my neck and on my face, which was not pleasant at all. So we won't be doing that anytime soon. But they love to eat the flowers. You can see munching away at the moment, along with the polyrhynchus ant, also feasting on the flowers. But that's really cool, nice to see. There's a couple of them moving around there, and they're all eating all these hibiscus at the moment. Very cool. Right, it's a pity it's just so far away, we can't really get in there. But that'll be a nice spot actually this afternoon, seeing as I'm doing bushwalkers. Maybe we'll go about and start checking all these flowers. Starlight Cam, you're wondering if it's dangerous to have a bark spider wandering around on the vehicle. No, not at all. They're actually really pleasant. They do have a bit of a painful bite, but and they've of course got a venom, but nothing that can hurt us as humans. I remember being bitten by a bark spider years and years and years ago in the Eastern Cape, because they were everywhere, going down into the valleys, and massive ones. I mean, we used to see bark spiders, I kid you not. Let me put it on the back of my hand. They were about that big. I mean, they really were absolutely massive. And having one of those fall on you or go down your shirt, as anything would, they start to panic. And I had a little bit of a headache, a very slight headache, but it also could have just been a coincidence. I'm not sure. So no, not at all. They're quite pleasant to have around. They're really entertaining to watch. Normally during the days, they'll be resting up on the underside of a branch with, like we saw, closing their legs in. Almost just look like a little knob on a tree. They're so camouflaged. And then at night they start to set up their webs again over the middle of a road, and then they take them down at first light. Now, what is dangerous to have in the cars, which we have on a regular basis, are violin spiders and button spiders. They seem to make an appearance every now and then, and that's not great. I think Brent actually said he had baby button spiders in this radio, in this mic, living where the holes on the speaker are. And yes, that wasn't fun, but they've all left us now, which is great. So every time we get into the cars, you'll see, oh, you guys don't see it, but first thing in the morning, we take the blankets that we sit on to sort of just boost us a bit higher. We shake them out. I check everywhere, under the steering wheel, anywhere that I'm going to touch, because the last thing that you want to do is pick up the radio mic or you know, reach down to pick up the spotlight, and then you get nipped by one of those spiders. Now that won't be very fun at all. You'll probably be quite ill, depending of course on the size of the spider and the amount of venom that you get in your body. But we don't want to be rushing anybody off to hospital, so we try and be as careful as we can. Hello, redback shrike. You see that there's two hopping around. Go up a little bit. I think it is. No, it's flown off. Oh no, it's there somewhere. I think you've got it, VM. Yes, you do. It's just to the right. I think we can just see its tail moving. It is there. That is so camouflaged. Look at that. No, that's not the one we're looking at. That is something else. That looks like a bunt. Is it a bunting? I can't see now. It's so striped and hidden behind. Come out. Come out, come out, come out wherever you are so we can see who you are. There were two redback shrike bounding around. I can't see who this is. Just see a lot of barring on the chest, and initially it looked like it could have been a bunting of some sort. Maybe it's one of the female buntings. Let me just have a very quick look at my bird app. Let me get that out. Now come out here and show yourself. I'm just searching as you stare into the bush. Let's see. No, I don't think it is either. I don't know what that is. Let's go and try and get another look at it. Did it fly away? Oh, it's a robin. There we go. That's what it is. Maybe it's a white-browed scrub robin. That's what we saw. Here it is. Now I can see it. I'm going to just try. They're so skittish though. Don't fly. It's just in here. I don't know if you can see it hopping around, VM. There it is. It's hiding away, but it's definitely one of the robins. Most likely a scrub robin. I shall just double check. White-browed? Yeah, it is a white-browed scrub robin. And I'll show you a clearer picture, but quite a nice one. They've got the most beautiful call. I'll play the call for you in a moment. I just don't want to play it as we sit next to this bird because they're quite territorial, and if I play it, it's going to respond. I don't want to upset the bird, especially because it is only... VM, if you stay like that again, let me go. I want to see if I'm going to start the engine. It might fly, but I want to see if we can reposition slightly. But obviously it's difficult because this bird is so small, so we need to keep the camera on it to see where we're going to get a bit. Okay, let me go forward now. Yes, I think we're going to get a better gap here. Here we go, almost. Whoa, good. This is hard. Okay, hold on, we're going to get a good view. Oh, no. It just flew down. Ah, okay. Let me show you. It just flew off. Let me show you the picture of a white-browed scrub robin, though. A proper look at it. Let me get a real photo. Now I need to do the sleeve rub, just to clean my screen. It's full of dust. Okay. There we go. So have a quick look at it. That was what we were looking at, the white-browed scrub robin. And it is now flown off, which is a pity. But at least should we hear its beautiful call? I think so. Now we've got to do... Oh my goodness, it's a disaster. Turn that off. Click on it again. Are you ready? Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. That's definitely a sound that you hear first thing in the morning, which is really, really nice. Of course, make sure to turn that off volume. What a nice little bird. I don't know when I last actually saw a white-browed scrub robin. Initially, though, like I said, when I saw it, I saw the streaking on the head. I couldn't see the breast, and I thought, oh, maybe it's a bunting. But of course, then as I started to see the barring on the chest straight away, nope, that wasn't it. Here we go, so a nice little find for the morning. What we're going to do is we're still searching for elephants, and we're going to keep searching, like I said, right until we find one. But let's go back across to Tristan, and he's actually had all the luck in the world with the caterpillars and plants, and I wonder what he's got to show you next.
So what we have here is the larvae for a glow bug. Oh, that's what we call them here. And now it's very, very fast, and it's moving around, and it's on the hunt. These guys are predatory little bugs, and they are ferocious, and what it's busy doing is probably looking for antlions. So if you have a look in this hole over here, you see there that the sand is actually moving. So if I try to disturb it a little bit, so what happens is they build these little pits, and then an ant comes and it touches the side, and that falling sand triggers the little antlion to come up. And so this little insect is coming along and checking all of these little pits, looking for that antlion. And let's see if it maybe finds one. It'll be quite interesting to see. They, like I say, are ferocious predators. They are very quick. You can see they're fast moving, and they move around looking for signs. It might go into its little burrow and stay in there. They do go in there, and that's where they'll find safety if there would be a predator that arrived. So a bird or something, then they quickly run into these little holes and they can hide out. But it's quite a horrid looking thing. It's all armor plated, and it's got those big jaws in front. It's quite something, this little guy. It's amazing that they grow up to be this beautiful insect that flies around with this mesmerizing light at night, whereas when they're like this, they're these predators, and they move around and cause havoc and destruction as they go. It's quite something to see. Now, obviously he's found something there. Sad, you're wondering what the most dangerous insect is here. That would... Tad. Sorry, Tad. I always say Sad. I always get it wrong. I do apologize, Tad, and thank you for the message that you sent me the other day. Now, Tad, you're wondering what the most dangerous insect that we have here is. It's difficult. I'm just trying to think what would probably be one that would be the most harmful. Obviously, when we think about insects, often people will classify spiders and scorpions in that, and they're not really actually part of the insect family. They're arachnids, so a little bit different, of which we have quite a number of dangerous ones. But insect-wise, probably mosquitoes are the most dangerous one. You know, if they carry malaria, they can be very, very, very dangerous, and probably close behind them is the ticks. And the reason why I say ticks is that you can get tick-bite fever, so it's not that you die from it, but you're going to be violently ill. It's not going to be very pleasant, and we can all ask Craig, the cameraman, when he comes back. He's busy booked off sick because of tick-bite fever, and I saw him yesterday, and he doesn't look very good at all. I feel sorry for Craig. He's battling a little bit, but hopefully he'll come right. He does have his medication, and so slowly but surely he should be coming right. But I would say probably mosquitoes number one because of the malaria factor. And then Vanessa, you were wondering how Craig is. Well, like I say, he wasn't looking good yesterday, and he seems to be slowly getting better though, and hopefully we'll get an update on him today. We left long before he was awake, so I'm hoping that later today he does wake up and we can be able to chat to him and see how he feels. But I think he'll be alright. It's the crowned lapwing herself. The crowned lapwing is trying to sneak past, but she's too loud. We heard her. So she's here joining us. What do you reckon is the most dangerous insect that we have out here? Yes, the most dangerous, Taylor.
Humans or just in general?
To humans, I suppose, is the question.
I don't know. I think I'm not a fan of blister beetles.
Blister beetles are
I just haven't had a great, but I mean that's not life-threatening.
It's not life-threatening, no. Mosquito? Surely?
I suppose mosquito, yeah, it has to be the mosquito. It's the silent killer. The snails. You gotta watch out for those snails, eh? They're slow but sneaky.
Did you hear that story that Graham had with the snails? Bilharzia, without it being diagnosed, and eventually they found it in a blood bank because he went to London to have his blood tested because he had an issue with his eyes, and they eventually picked up that he had Bilharzia for the last 18 years or something.
That's crazy.
Very
I've
crazy.
had it for 2 years.
Lovely.
Bilharzia got treated, it reoccurred, didn't know that I'd got it again, and then recently, a couple of months ago, I got treated again for it.
Lovely.
I'm waiting for the second bout, the third time to have it.
After our frogging.
After our frogging.
Ah, very nice.
Wait for the snails.
All right, Taylor, you have fun. Carry on.
Bye guys.
Goodbye. We won't. Don't worry. I think we'll be just fine. The McCurdy-hurdy is vicious, but not that bad.
They're trained, so they'll protect you.
So Taylor says that the McCurdy-hurdy is trained and that they will protect her and that they'll eat us if we get too close. So we have to be a bit careful. But yes, Tad, so in answer to your question, I would say mosquitoes with malaria would be probably the most dangerous. But there are a lot of other insects that cause a lot of discomfort out here. So Taylor was saying the blister beetles, they are horrible things. They land on you and they secrete this toxin called cantheridin, and it causes this blister to form. And if you pop that blister, it will cause more blisters. It really is very uncomfortable to have them around. So there's a number of different insects that do these kind of things, but malaria is probably the most dangerous for us out here in the African bush. And then if you go further north, the tsetse fly is also a pain in the backside. They bite very badly and are very, very sore, so not very nice at all, I would say. Right, so we've bumped into Taylor. It seems like we're finding all the presenters this morning. We're now going to go across to James, who's behind us, so we can get a rear view of me and Eggsy walking down the road.
There they are, everybody. Look at those two absolutely magnificent examples of humanity. On the left, a very fine guide. There we are, filled with knowledge, dressed appropriately for a guide, of course. A beard bristling in the morning sun. On the right-hand side, well, look how they've oppositely dressed each themselves, I suppose. Yes, Eggsy is a fine example of humanity. He is, of course, he's had to work very hard to get this look because he comes from Cape Town and he is much more used to dressing in the hipster fashion, which means he dresses in skinny jeans and shirts that were made for, I'm not sure what they were made for, really, lumberjacks, small lumberjacks. Especially made for them. Yes. And then, of course, that beard, unlike Tristan's, which is about 2 days' growth, Eggsy has been growing his beard for... How long have you been growing your beard for? Since birth. Yes. Wonderful. Good. Right. Thank you. We'll hopefully maintain signal on quarantine.
I hope so.
Yes. It certainly isn't. Goodbye, Egbert. And then, of course, possibly the finest example of humanity on all of Djuma, possibly the Sabi Sand, the great Kruger Park, and indeed the great Limpopo Transfrontier Park. We have Herbert Causa. Very good. Thank you. Herbert has been whistling the theme from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly since yesterday. He says it's good to find tracks. It's bad. I forget what the bad was, but it's ugly not to find the animal that you're looking for. Right, we're on quarantine. Let's see if we can't find you one animal before the end of the show. What's that bird on the road there, David? It looks like an oxpecker, but I don't think it's going to catch many oxes there, do you? I can't see. My monitor's gone. Oh, it's not. It's a ground scraper thrush. Very nice. Let's just watch it carefully, because there is one bird that you can confuse a ground scraper thrush with, and that bird is the dusky lark. I don't think that's a dusky lark. I'm just having a quick look. Is he gone? Yes, you chased away the bird, Tristan. It was a dusky lark, you know. There it is. And not common in this area, but they will come in a little bit like the monotonous larks. They come in for a little while and then disappear. Non-breeding summer visitor. Interesting. Right, good. Thank you for that. That's all right, Tristan. The one sighting we've had today, ruined. Well, we've had no signal. Have you got him there, Herbert? We're about 7 kilometers away. Oh, in the top of that tree, somewhere near the Kruger boundary. Now, that's the monotonous lark. Right, we'll do with him. Okay, well, that's the monotonous lark. There's a dove below him. That is going to be it from this side of the drive today. I do apologize once again for the odd signal problem that we had. We will do our best to remedy those during the course of the day. In the meantime, for the very last part of the drive, we're going to hand you over to Taylor with a big thank you, and we'll see you this afternoon at 4 o'clock.
Right, I'm trying to find the spot. I'll have to ask Herbie. Remember that one morning we had on the bushwalk, we had that spotted bush snake? And I was with Craig, because Craig was so excited that day. I can't for the life of me remember which broken marula it was in. But I think it actually could have been further down, maybe close towards Aubrey's Road. Anyways, we'll try again, but I was hoping to maybe look for that little snaky to see if it was going to come out. But here's another hollowed out marula. Let's see if there's anything living in here. Well, they like to live in little cavities like that. And George, you were actually wondering if I've ever been bitten by a snake. George, I haven't. Can you believe that? I have not been bitten by a snake, thankfully. But what I have been bitten by is a massive tropical house gecko, which caused much pain to my finger. It was actually in Zambia. It was a massive one. It was about this big. And I found it on the ground. We were grading roads one morning, and I wanted to have a closer inspection. So naughty me, I went to pick it up, and serves me right. I learned the hard way why you do not pick things up. And it latched onto my finger and would not let go, and it drew blood. And it was a very, very painful experience. Thankfully, it wasn't a young water monitor or rock monitor or something like that, because that would have been absolutely disastrous. So no, I haven't, but I've been bitten by many other things. Excuse me. Many sneezes today as well. I'm trying to think what else I've been bitten by. Spiders I've definitely been bitten by. I haven't been stung by a scorpion yet. Touch wood. Let's hope that we don't ever get stung by a scorpion. Liam, have you been stung by a scorpion? He's also shaking his head. Have you been bitten by a snake? No. We'll try keep not being bitten by all sorts of things. That I think is the preferable way. VM has been bitten by a parrot. That is horrible. I've also been bitten by parrots before. They're not great. Right, we're coming down to the final seconds of the show now, sadly, but I hope that you've enjoyed the morning just as much as all of us here at Wild Earth have. Very exciting, of course, to have Tingana right in the beginning, and thank you for your help, for helping us locate him. Remember, please join us, of course, for this afternoon's Sunset Safari. I'll be on Bushwalk, and from all of us here, a big thank you. See you this afternoon.